Chapter 526. Jing Xiu's heart tightened as she stared at the black-robed youth in front of her. This was a secret she had been hiding all this time. She had too many misgivings, so she had never dared to speak of it. But this time, she had made her move. Even though she had been very cautious in restraining her aura and body shape, she had still been recognized. Jing Xiu had mentally prepared herself for this. After all, they were husband and wife. Outsiders might not be able to tell, but it was possible for her husband too. Amen. Jing Xiu nodded lightly, but she was still very nervous. She was afraid. Because she cared too much about her husband, she was afraid. Reincarnated? Donghua Shuiying asked. Yes. Jing Xiu took a deep breath and looked at her husband. You despise me? Jing Xiu was so flustered that she did not dare to wait for Donghua Shuiying's reply. She continued, I only awakened my memories when I became a deity. Previously, I was known as the mysterious Star Sword Lady, the eldest daughter of Monarch Mo Shui. As such, when you met 7th Mei Yu, I was able to tell at a glance that she was a woman. After all, she's my younger sister. Furthermore, my father, Monarch Mo Shui, personally guided you. It was because he knew that you were his son-in-law. Jing Xiu carefully observed Donghua Shuiying's expression. You two already acknowledged each other back then? Donghua Shuiying asked. We secretly acknowledged each other. Apart from me and my father, no one else knew, Jing Xiu replied. Donghua Shuiying was puzzled. No wonder. No wonder he felt that something was amiss. Even though he had been rather dazzling during the myriad flower feast, Monarch Mo Shui, who could truly rival powerful existences, had actually guided him for 2 consecutive days. Moreover, he had taught him verbally and occasionally demonstrated. At that time, Donghua Shuiying had been overwhelmed by the favor. Only now did he realize that it was because of his wife, Jing Xiu. At that time, you even teased me and 7th Mei Yu. Donghua Shuiying looked at Jing Xiu. Seeing this, Jing Xiu calmed down and said, I was only joking. I was very happy to see my younger sister, but I just couldn't acknowledge you. Snow Eagle, you don't dislike me, do you? The dignified, mysterious Lady of Star Sword is loved by countless universe gods. I can't wait to be overjoyed. How could I despise her? Donghua Shuiying grinned. Yu Jing Xiu heaved a sigh of relief. She grabbed onto Donghua Shuiying's hand and said angrily, I'm so nervous, but you're still teasing me. She was indeed nervous. Star Sword Mysterious Daughter was the eldest daughter of Monarch Mo Shui. Her background was extraordinary, and because of her father's relationship, she was extremely cold and arrogant. Simply put, the 7 daughters of Monarch Mo Shui were all colder. Monarch Mo Shui himself was also very proud and aloof. She was strong, and her father was strong. Not many people could enter her eyes. Many female transcendents were single. In her previous life, Jing Xiu was much more valiant than those female transcendents. She only had one goal, to transcend and become an almighty being. Hence, even though she had lived for such a long time in her previous life, she had never been in love. To a powerful universe god like her, matters of the heart were no longer attractive. After reincarnating, she hooked up with Donghua Shuiying and had a pair of children. After she became a deity and awakened the memories of her previous life, she was somewhat afraid. She was afraid that Donghua Shuiying would become estranged from her after finding out. After all, not everyone would be able to accept knowing that his wife was an old fellow with over 1 billion years of memories. More importantly, Jing Xiu had never experienced matters of the heart in her previous life. Hence, she especially valued her husband, her son, and her daughter. She was afraid. Hence, she tried her best to hide it. Of course, this was only one of the reasons. The other reason was because of her great enemy. Jing Xiu, rumor has it that Star Sword Mysterious Daughter offended one of the deity world's fierce 5, old ancestor Golden Firmament, and was killed by him. Donghua Shuiying asked, Yes, I did offend old ancestor Golden Firmament. Even father couldn't protect me. In order to escape, I simply chose to reincarnate and avoid this calamity. Jing Xiu nodded lightly. Hence, while I was in the prefecture, father and I secretly acknowledged each other, but I didn't dare to make it public. I even kept my deity avatar, because I was afraid that old ancestor Golden Firmament would find out that I had successfully reincarnated. I was afraid that he would kill me again. Dongbua Shui couldn't help but ask, "How did you offend old ancestor Golden Firmament?" Old ancestor Golden Firmament. He was famous among the powerful existences. He was even stronger than his deceased master, Holy Master Crimson Dust, and close to the level of the three ancestors. The first of the deity world's fierce five was Pang E. The second was Old Ancestor Golden Firmament. He was much stronger than Old Ancestor Fierce Tyrant. Pang E was currently focused on perfecting his cultivation technique and kept a low profile. Usually, the deity world's fierce five would wreak havoc in the outside world. Their leader was Old Ancestor Golden Firmament. He was someone who could easily fight against the three ancestors and escape. Jing Xiu was a little embarrassed. "It's like this. You should know of my previous reputation." "Yes." Dongbua Shuang nodded. "I wholeheartedly cultivated to become a stage 4 deity or even a powerful existence. I disdained absorbing faith stones," Jing Xiu said. "Thus, I made preparations long ago to go to some ancient ruins in search of fortuitous encounters. In one of them, I was extremely lucky and didn't encounter much danger. I obtained an inheritance, a remnant piece of the heart's sword diagram. Who would have thought that Old Ancestor Golden Firmament had already led 3 of the deity world's fierce 5 and spent a great deal of effort to break through the many dangers? They were just a step away from reaching the core. Who would have thought that I would be the one to pluck the peaches? I was also puzzled as to why I didn't encounter any danger at all." Dongbua Shui blinked. On one side were 4 powerful existences who had entered the ruins and broken through the many dangers. On the other side were stage 3 world deities. They had probably entered the ruins from another direction and easily reached the core without any danger. "It's not entirely your fault," Dongbua Shui said. "After all, you didn't do it intentionally. What's more, it has already happened. It's just a remnant piece of the heart sword diagram. It's just a remnant piece." Jing Xiu said in a low voice, "My father also invited a powerful existence to resolve the matter. It was only later that I found out that Old Ancestor Golden Firmament had spent a long time to obtain 4 remnant pieces of the heart sword diagram. I obtained the 5th and final piece. As long as I can gather all 5 pieces, it will be a complete ancient absolute art." Dongbua Shui was flabbergasted. Hundreds of billions of years of effort, and I'm the only one missing. Many of the dangers in the ruins were solved by them, and I was lucky enough to obtain it. Jing Xiu said helplessly. Old Ancestor Golden Firmament was about to go crazy. He wanted to capture me and search my soul. "Search your soul?" Dongbua Shui expression changed. "An absolute art? Even a soul search wouldn't be able to find anything, right? An absolute art's inheritance was extremely difficult to obtain through a soul search, right? Actually, I wanted to record it down and impart it to him. But my realm is too low, and this is just a remnant piece. I can only comprehend a tiny bit of it. There's no way for me to record it down." Jing Xiu said helplessly. "Old Ancestor Golden Firmament probably wanted to capture me and search my soul in order to obtain as many remnant pieces as possible. After all, he's lacking the last part. The more he obtained, the more he could rely on himself to make up for it. But no matter what, I couldn't allow him to search my soul. Old Ancestor Golden Firmament's ferocious aura reached the heavens, and my master didn't show up either. Thus, I could only choose to reincarnate and fight for a chance of survival," Jing Xiu said. "Many powerful world deities had lived for too long and could no longer maintain their original hearts. That was why they chose to reincarnate. They wanted to experience a brand new life, allowing their soul to regain its emptiness and vitality. But Jing Xiu chose to do so in order to escape. This was indeed a good way to escape. After reincarnation, even the Bloodblade wouldn't be able to find her. I didn't dare to reveal myself. I even temporarily stopped cultivating and focused on comprehending the Tao. Jing Xiu said, I wanted to wait a little longer. Snow Eagle, your talent and strength are dazzling. I felt that it wouldn't be too late for me to reveal my identity once you were strong enough. Otherwise, the moment my identity was revealed, old ancestor Golden Firmament would come. Dongbua Shuang nodded. That's right. The news of him becoming a stage 3 world deity should have already spread, and it would probably reach his master, the Bloodblade, very soon. But old ancestor Golden Firmament, his master, the God Emperor, shouldn't appear for him because of this, right? Chapter 5:27. You're right. Dongbua Shuang nodded. As one of the deity world's fierce 5, Forefather Golden Firmament is extremely ruthless, and you've really offended him. One must know that Forefather Golden Firmament is famous for his ability to flee. He can easily escape from powerful existences on the same level as the 3 ancestors. However, he is slightly weaker in direct combat, which is why he is slightly weaker than the 3 ancestors. If he could obtain the complete heart sword diagram, his strength would increase tremendously and he would truly reach the level of the 3rd ancestor. You've ruined his opportunity, and you have the last fragment of the heart sword diagram in your memory. He won't let you off easily. Jing Xiu was also vexed, but we're not afraid of him. Dongbua Shuang laughed. Our true bodies are both in the material world. He can't truly kill us, right? Jing Xiu was also confident. Now that I've reincarnated, I can be considered a new life under the laws of the world. The karma between us has been greatly reduced, and it's hard for him to detect my existence. Furthermore, I've become a stage 4 world deity, so I can isolate myself from karma. Dongbua Shuang nodded. Eldest disciple Brother Huiming, Monarch Mo Shui, and the others were all capable of such a feat. Stage 4 world deities could easily comprehend other grade 1 deity hearts, and they usually had some understanding of karma. Thus, most stage 4 world deities would casually mention the names of powerful existences. However, Monarch Songyong, who fought with me, recognized me. Of course, he only recognized that the silver-haired girl was the mysterious Star Sword Maiden. He doesn't know my current identity. He knows that you helped me, and that our relationship is not shallow. Now, he should have something to ask of me, Dongbua Shuang said. He shouldn't casually say anything. Amen, Jing Xiu nodded. For the time being, the two of them did not wish to deal with Forefather Golden Firmament. After all, he wasn't someone to be trifled with. Of course, they weren't afraid of him. As a stage 3 world deity, Dongbua Shuang was also a lord of a material world. In reality, he wasn't afraid of anyone. At the level of Temporal Island Lord, even if they wanted to kill him, they wouldn't be able to. As long as his life wasn't in danger, he would naturally be able to deal with it calmly. Jing Xiu, you should hurry up and become a stage 4 world deity. Dongbua Shuang said, after all, your true deity heart will become stronger after you level up. The speed of cultivation and comprehension would also increase. Since you are in closed-door cultivation, your identity will not be exposed. Even if you meet Yu and Qinyao, you could just form a clone with the power of the world. Your own strength is more important. That's fine too. Jing Xiu nodded. She hadn't broken through before because she was worried that her husband would suspect her. Haha, both of us are stage 4 world deities. Even if we do make it public, Forefather Golden Firmament won't be able to kill us. They might not chase after you like they did in the past. Dongbua Shuang said. Jing Xiu also smiled. That's right. Snow Eagle, you are the stage 3 world deity with the shortest cultivation time in the entire history of the deity world and Dark Abyss. Right now, the couple indeed had the confidence to face any expert. It's only been 39,000 years. According to the information we received, Dongbua Shuang became a stage 2 world deity in 5,000 years. Based on my calculations, it has only been 39,000 years since then. Monarch Songyong returned to his own palace. His cold face was now filled with anxiety. The shortest record for becoming a stage 3 world deity in the history of the deity world and Dark Abyss is even faster than Monarch Green and the Temporal Island Lord. The previous record was held by Manor Lord Fei Shue. Monarch Song Yong sat cross-legged in a tightly shut palace hall. The interior of the hall was pitch black. Monarch Song Yong sat cross-legged in the pitch-black hall, deep in thought. To be able to achieve such great accomplishments in such a short period of time represented astonishing potential. Throughout history, aside from Monarch Extermination, who had courted his own death, the other three had all been extremely stunning. If Monarch Extermination had not been killed, he would have long since reached the level of the three ancestors, given how he was able to suppress powerful existences when he was still a stage 4 world deity. Thus, Monarch Song Yong was very clear about Dongbua Shui Ying's current rise. He could not even find a helper. Thus, he was not too willing to offend him. Lower your head. Apologize. Think of a way to get the relic back from him. However, Dongbua Shui Ying will definitely be able to guess that it is no ordinary treasure. I'm afraid he won't agree so easily. Monarch Song Yong felt bitter in his heart. Let's discuss this properly. Even if I have to give up everything and give up my empire, it will still be a small matter. When Dongbua Shui Ying and Monarch Song Yong had fought, it had been in the sky above Eastern Region City. The commotion of the battle had been witnessed by countless deities in Eastern Region City, as well as many world deities living there. It was impossible to hide the news. When Monarch Song Yong arrived at Eastern Region City, a mysterious stage 4 world deity, the silver-haired woman, acted to block him. Later on, His Highness Dongbua acted to fight Monarch Song Yong head-on. Their strengths were about the same. His Highness Dongbua and the Calm Sea Prefecture Master conversed for a long time. Many world deities approached and sensed that His Highness Dongbua is indeed a stage 3 world deity. He might be relying on a legendary absolute art to fight a stage 4 world deity. It's a stage 3 world deity without a doubt. The Calm Sea Prefecture's Longshire clan has already spread the news. It's a stage 3 world deity. The Supervisor Envoy's mansion has also made it public. General M.O. and the other world deities have paid a visit to His Highness Dongbua. His Highness Dongbua is indeed a stage 3 world deity. Piece by piece, the news quickly spread. This news continued to spread throughout the Bloodshed God Palace. Even the Temporal Island, the Myriad God Palace, and some other remote and mysterious regions in the deity world, as well as the terrifying existences in the distant Dark Abyss, had received this news. In the deepest level of the Dark Abyss, this level of the world was deathly silent. There was only a single life form in the entire world. He was currently sitting cross-legged, and the breath he exhaled from his nostrils filled the entire deathly silent world, causing the temperature of this world to reach a frightening level. His body was so huge that it was unfathomable. Even someone who had cultivated the time immemorial body to grand completion was nothing more than a tiny speck compared to this life form. Due to his huge body, if he were to lie down, he would be able to traverse the entire level of the Dark Abyss. His head would be on one end of the world, while his feet would be on the other end. As a result, he was the only person in this level of the world, and he would usually be able to have a good sleep here. Amen? As he sat cross-legged, he opened his eyes. His pair of eyes were even larger than the sun and moon. A brat has appeared in the deity world, and he actually became a stage 3 world deity in just 39,000 years. This huge existence muttered in a low voice, his voice reverberating throughout the entire level of the world. That bloodshed brat's luck is truly good. Such a brat was actually snatched away by him. I've heard that he came from the material world, and that idiot from the Temporal Island actually failed to obtain him. Interesting. If he were to be nurtured properly, he might become a good helper. Deity world, within the secret underground palace of the Bloodshed God Palace. In front of the Scarlet Cosmos Furnace, Bloodblade was currently sitting cross-legged. The black bird was no longer on his shoulder. It was unknown where it had run off to. Master, a vigorous voice reverberated throughout the palace. It was the treasure spirit of the entire Bloodshed God Palace. Emin, what's the matter? Bloodblade asked. Master, Dongbua Shui Ying has become a stage 3 world deity, the vigorous voice said. Chapter 528. Bloodblade froze for a moment before a smile appeared on his face. If I'm not wrong, he should have cultivated for 39,000 years. Such a cultivation speed is much faster than mine. There are many who have cultivated faster than Master, but in the current deity world, Master is the strongest. Those who have cultivated faster than Master have mostly died, the vigorous voice said. I hope that he can continue on this path. Bloodblade was filled with hope. He stood at the apex of the deity world and the abyss, and those who could stand on equal footing with him could be counted on one hand. Over the long years, he had seen many ups and downs, as well as the rise and fall of many talented transcendents with grade 1 true meanings. The current Dongbua Shui Ying had cultivated at a speed comparable to that of his eldest disciple, Monarch Green, whom he was most proud of. Even so, Bloodblade was still just looking forward to it. After all, he had long since believed that his beloved disciple, Dongbua Shui Ying, would have no problem advancing from stage 1 to stage 4. Only after reaching stage 4 would the truly difficult path of cultivation begin. At that time, he would gradually come into contact with the world of His Majesty, God Emperor. In a desolate starry sky, far away from Eastern Regent City, Dongbua Shui Ying and the silver-haired, white-robed woman faced each other from a distance. He smiled at his wife. Jing Xiu had long since evolved her inner world with the help of a large amount of deity crystals. Her inner world had continuously improved, reaching the stage 4 world deity realm in a single breath. Dongbua Shui Ying had even given his wife many treasures, such as a treasure that could isolate all probing of the laws of nature. He had even provided her with materials so that she could refine her own blood-refined deity warrior. Although the process of refining a blood-refined deity warrior was rather complicated, Jing Xiu could do it herself with her memories from her previous life. Dongbua Shui Ying had only cultivated for a short period of time, so he was completely clueless about medicinal pills, weapon refinement, hexing poisons, and many other aspects. Snow Eagle. Last time I only used my deity energy to transform into Frost Sword energy. The conversion speed was too slow, and the amount of Frost Sword energy I had was too little. Since he doesn't have a world deity domain, dealing with Monarch Songyong was so difficult. Jing Xiu laughed from afar. However, things won't be so simple this time. As she spoke, countless ice sword lights began to surge around her. The sword lights were vast and mighty, and they quickly spread out for hundreds of millions of miles, like a surging ocean of ice. In the middle of the vast sea of frost, Jing Xiu was the ruler of everything, emitting a terrifying sharpness. Dongbua Shui Ying was not surprised at all. His luminous sun force was also able to cover hundreds of millions of miles in the blink of an eye. Last time, Jing Xiu only had a deity body. Although her world deity secret techniques had reached an extremely high realm, the efficiency of converting deity energy was extremely low. How could it be as efficient as a stage for realm deity? Come at me. Let me see how powerful you are. Dongbua Shui Ying laughed. The feeling of going all out against his wife was quite interesting. However, you have to defeat my world clone first. Immediately, 9 starry blue-robed Dongbua Shui Ying appeared in the void. Jing Xiu had only been a stage 4 world deity for a short period of time, so her attainments in the world deity heart were not as deep as Dongbua Shui Ying's. Thus, she could not forcefully suppress Dongbua Shui Ying and prevent him from condensing his world body. Snow Eagle, you have to be careful. Jing Xiu's silver hair fluttered as she waved her hand. Hua! Immediately, countless ice sword lights surged forth. Dongbua Shui Ying looked into the distance, only to see countless ice sword lights surging forth like a vast ocean. Like a surging wave from the starry sky, they arrived in front of the 9 world clones in an instant. The 9 starry blue-robed Dongbua Shui Ying also began to display his spear techniques. At the same time, his luminous sun force surged forth bang, bang, bang. The unyielding luminous sun force formed countless chains that charged forward. However, these ice sword lights were extremely sharp. Although their power was greatly reduced by the impact, they still managed to cut through the chains and continued to attack the 9 world bodies. The 9 world bodies displayed their spear techniques to defend themselves, but they were completely suppressed. Soon, the ice sword lights pierced into their bodies. After all, no matter how good their spear techniques were, they could not defend against the all-pervasive sword lights. Although the time immemorial body had already reached the 6th level, it was still unable to withstand the sword lights. They were constantly penetrated, and soon, the 9 world bodies were crushed under the countless sword lights. Stop, stop, stop. I admit defeat. Dongbua Shui, Ying hurriedly said. Only then did the ice sword lights retreat. Jing Xiu said, Your real body hasn't even made a move yet. How can you admit defeat? My real body is indeed stronger than the world bodies, but only in terms of the Scarlet Cloud Spear. Dongbua Shui, Ying shook his head. You've already destroyed the 9 world bodies, so how can my real body withstand it? I truly did not expect that the power of your ice sword lights would be so great after accumulating. Your strength is in no way inferior to Monarch Songyong. In terms of strength, he was also weaker than Monarch Songyong. Previously, in a battle above East Region City, he and Jing Xiu had joined hands to stop Monarch Songyong. Jing Xiu smiled. My ice sword lights have also absorbed some of the profound mysteries of the heart sword diagram, so they are even more powerful. However, the heart sword diagram is too profound. I plan to properly comprehend the heart sword diagram after I finish refining the blood-refined deity armament. Dongbua Shui, Ying shook his head. I never expected that Dongbua Shui, Ying, with my illustrious reputation, would not even be able to defeat my own wife. I'll cultivate as long as you cultivate. Jing Xiu curled her lips. Ha ha, I'm just teasing you. Don't worry. Your man, will be able to defeat you very soon. Dongbua Shui, Ying laughed. Come, let's go back. All right. Jing Xiu nodded. The two immediately boarded the Starfield flying ship and traveled through the space-time tunnel back to East Region City. After returning to the supervisor envoy's residence, Jing Xiu quietly went into seclusion. With her strength, it was only natural that no one would notice her. After all, there were only 2 stage 4 world deities in the entire Kamsi Prefecture. One was the Kamsi Prefecture Master, and the other was Jing Xiu. Dongbua Shui, Ying went to see his daughter and give her some pointers on her cultivation. Qingyao, comprehending the laws of heaven and earth, should focus on the essence of things. However, this is too prejudiced. You should temporarily let go of your current comprehension and try again in a different direction. Dongbua Shui, Ying extended his hand, condensing the power of the world into a sword. Although he had never studied sword techniques, the essence of the laws of heaven and earth was the same. Since Dongbua Shui, Ying's realm was much higher than his daughter's, he could naturally give her some pointers in a simpler way. Dongbua and Qingyao listened attentively. She had grown up listening to her father's stories, and she worshipped him immensely. As he was giving pointers to his daughter, a sudden surge of power was transmitted over. Dongbua Shui, Ying immediately sensed that this power belonged to his master. Although he had a treasure that could isolate all laws of heaven and earth, he did not dare to obstruct his master. Dongbua, a voice resounded in his mind. Master, Dongbua Shui, Ying hurriedly replied. To be able to become a stage 3 world deity in such a short period of time, not bad. However, you should know that many grade 1 true meaning transcendents ended up being stuck at stage 4. Even Monarch Extermination, whose talent was not any weaker than yours, ended up destroying himself. Your path of cultivation has only just begun. Do not be arrogant. Cultivation is also the cultivation of the heart. Bloodblade continued. Now that your fame has spread, there will definitely be many experts who will come to pay a visit or even befriend you. However, you must remember that not everyone can give you benefits. If you do, it will become karma. Dongbua Shui, Ying was startled. Yes, master, this disciple understands. Amen. that terrifying power immediately retreated. Many experts will come to pay a visit. Dongbua Shui Ying frowned slightly. Bloodblade was right. Just half a month later, many experts came to pay a visit. Your Highness Dongbua, I heard that your Highness is looking for demon bone ash. Haha, this old man just so happens to have 3 kilograms of demon bone ash, which I am willing to give to your Highness. A golden-haired old man laughed. There was also wine placed on the table in front of Dongbua Shui Ying. He lifted the wine cup and drank a mouthful before laughing. 9 rigid prefecture master, this gift is too valuable. I do not dare to accept it. Previously, with his master's reminder, Dongbua Shui Ying was extremely intelligent. He immediately understood that his current cultivation speed was extremely fast, and he had even broken the record of becoming a stage 3 world deity. The various superpowers should understand that Dongbua Shui Ying would soar into the sky very soon, and he might even become an almighty in the future. The moment he became an almighty, he might even reach the level of the 3 ancestors. Knowing that Dongbua Shui Ying would have an extremely high status in the future, they naturally had to help him while he was still weak. After all, when Dongbua Shui Ying reached the level of the 3 ancestors, Dongbua Shui Ying would no longer be interested in their gifts. If they were to give it now, and Dongbua Shui Ying accepted it, it would become karma. He would have to repay it in the future. Of course, if Dongbua Shui Ying were to stop at stage 4, their gifts would be wasted. But this was a gamble. If they were to give it now, in the future, when Dongbua Shui Ying became stronger, he would have to repay this karma. Of course, he could also choose not to repay it. If he did so, it would be a huge hindrance to his cultivation. Your Highness, a voice suddenly came from outside. Sky River Prefecture Master is here to pay a visit. What a coincidence. Dongbua Shui Ying looked at the golden-haired old man in front of him. 9 rigid Prefecture Master, you don't mind, right? Let Sky River Prefecture Master come in and have a seat. It has been a long time since I last met with that Sky River brat. 9 rigid Prefecture Master smiled and nodded. However, he was somewhat unhappy in his heart. Dongbua Shui Ying did not immediately accept his gift. It seemed that it would not be so easy to form karma with a gift. Star. Chapter 529. The 9 rigid Prefecture Master and the Sky River Prefecture Master were the first 2 stage 4 world deities to pay a visit. After sending them off, in the following month, other stage 4 world deities came to pay a visit. If it was an ordinary person or a weaker one, they would probably want to receive a sufficiently precious gift. But the stronger one was, the harder it was for them to receive a gift. Most of the visiting stage 4 world deities brought demon bone ash along with them. Normally, it was impossible to buy even if one wanted it. But these overlord existences in the deity world could take out some if they really wanted it. After all, they had lived for a long time and had a deeper foundation. Dongbua Shui Ying only said, I can't accept it for free, but I'm willing to buy it. 50 million deity crystals per kilogram of demon bone ash is enough for me to buy 5 kilograms. Although cultivating the 4th volume of Luminous Sun required more rare treasures and demon bone ash, he did not have enough deity crystals on him unless he took out the treasures in Crimson Rock Mountain to exchange. Secondly, he was not in a hurry. After all, cultivating the 4th volume of Luminous Sun would require him to become a stage 4 world deity. Once he had accumulated more deity crystals, he could slowly buy it. This 50 million deity crystals per kilogram, 10 million deity crystals is enough. Those stage 4 world deities still felt that Dongbua Shui Ying's price was too high. 50 million deity crystals, I'm willing to buy 5 kilograms, Dongbua Shui Ying said. This price was not considered cheap, nor could it be considered karma. It was just that they had some friendship. In the end, it was the first 5 stage 4 world deities to rush over. Dongbua Shui Ying each bought 5 kilograms of demon bone ash. They could be considered to have gotten to know each other. Sigh. It's not easy to form karma with Dongbua Shui Ying. His Highness Dongbua is the personal disciple of His Majesty. He is not stupid. How could he casually accept a gift? In a short month, A total of 35 stage, 4-world deities came to pay a visit. Some wanted to form karma, while others wanted to get to know each other. Many of these stage, 4-world deities came from faraway places. However, none of the Almighties came to visit him. Only the familiar Chihua Laozu came to congratulate him from afar. After all, the Almighties had already transcended. They were not as anxious as the stage, 4-world deities. The sun. It was one of the two most mysterious and powerful stars. Along with the moon star, it was located at the two poles of the immortal world, forever illuminating the immortal world, the material world, and the dark abyss. Furthermore, it was impossible to find it by flying normally. Home. The sun was a gigantic fireball. The flames on its surface were liquid, just like the seawater of a planet. The flames of the sun star were also flowing, incomparably hot and terrifying. However, its power could radiate through the entire material plane, the dark abyss, and the dark abyss, which showed how terrifying it was. Its laws were much more complicated than the laws of heaven and earth. It was comparable to the laws of the material world and the dark abyss. Many Almighties often came to the solar star. On the surface of a sun star, there was a house with a small courtyard. The courtyard was only about 10 meters in radius. Outside the small courtyard was the boundless flames of the sun. Within the small courtyard, there was a white-haired, youthful-looking old man laughing loudly. I, Chihua, am truly lucky. Back then, I helped that brat Dongbua. Who would have thought that he would have such accomplishments today? I'm afraid that he might even surpass me in the future. The karma that he owes me isn't light at all. Back then, saving Jing Xiu was as easy as lifting a finger to Chihua Laozu. But to the Dongbua Ying, it was something that he was willing to exchange with his life for. He begged the temporal temple for help, but the temporal temple was disdainful. They believed that Dongbua Ying didn't have any value at all. After all, to save Jing Xiu back then, they either needed a rare treasure that could recreate a soul, or they needed a powerful existence to act. Both of these options were extremely costly. Back then, Dongbua Ying was at his wit's end. Even if he begged for help, there was no way out. As a powerful existence, Chihua Laozu had acted. This karma, to Dongbua Ying, it was a karma that he would have to repay with his life. Dongbua brat, your future is limitless. In the future, this old man will need your help. Don't reject me. When Chihua Laozu congratulated him, he specially added a sentence. Forefather, you only need to say a word. Dongbua Ying will risk his life to help forefather. Dongbua Ying was straightforward. There's no rush. At the very least, I'll ask for your help after you become a powerful existence. Chihua Laozu said. Dongbua Ying was very grateful. Because Chihua Laozu said this sentence, it meant that this karma could be repaid after he became a powerful existence. Then, when he became a powerful existence from stage 4, the impact of this huge karma would be very small. 3 months after Dongbua Ying became a stage 3 world deity. At the border between the deity world and the dark abyss, a gigantic black palm pierced through the void and descended, enveloping a region of 500 billion kilometers. That vast region of 500 billion kilometers was completely frozen. The venomous Ying world deity, who was originally fleeing in panic, stared at the gigantic palm in horror. She anxiously shouted, Monarch, Monarch, please spare my life. Please spare my life. Her other avatar had just been captured, and this body of hers had attempted to flee in vain. Spare your life? I'm going to give you to Dongbua Ying as a gift. The terrifying black palm directly grabbed out. Venomous Ying world deity struggled with all her might, but the space around her was completely frozen. Venomous Ying world deity felt despair. The moment she heard that Dongbua Ying had become a stage 3 world deity, she fell into a daze. She no longer had any wishful thinking and immediately began to flee. Now, Dongbua Ying had yet to act, but an ancient stage 4 world deity who had lived for who knew how long had taken action. This old man had carefully investigated the area for 3 months before confirming the whereabouts of the two bodies of the venomous Ying world deity. Only then did he act and capture both of them. It was true that the moment he acted, the venomous Ying world deity no longer had any hope. While the venomous Ying world deity was being captured, Monarch Songyong finally came to pay a visit to Dongbua, Shui Ying in eastern Regent City. Monarch Songyong. Many of the soldiers and female attendants in the supervisor envoy residence were watching curiously. 3 months ago, Monarch Songyong had fought with Shui Ying in the sky above eastern Regent City. Now, Monarch Songyong actually dared to come back. Furthermore, the one who had assassinated Commander Bai Li Shang was a subordinate of Monarch Songyong. Both sides had a grudge against each other. Monarch, this way please. A world deity guard personally led the way. Having seen too many stage 4 world deities over the past few days, these guards had long since calmed down. Soon, they were led into the hall. Within the hall, only Dongbua Shui Ying was seated. He pointed to the opposite side and said, Monarch Songyong, this way please. Monarch Songyong took a seat, facing Dongbua Shui Ying from a distance. Your Highness Dongbua, I'm truly ashamed. I hope that you won't take offense to my actions. Dongbua Shui Ying smiled. Monarch Songyong, let's not speak such empty words. Dongbua Shui Ying, may be confident in my abilities, but I do not believe that I can make a stage 4 world deity personally apologize to me. Furthermore, I only killed one of your subordinates' avatars. You personally came to kill me, and now you've come to apologize. Monarch Songyong, you must have a request, and it's not a small one. Admirable, Monarch Songyong praised. Speak, what is it? Dongbua Shui Ying asked. He was also curious as to why Monarch Songyong had come. Was it because of that black sphere? Over the past 3 months, he had spent a great deal of time researching the black sphere. His true body had spent 100 times faster time in Crimson Rock Mountain of the Xia people's world, but he had still not been able to uncover its secrets. Even so, there was one thing he was certain of. Based on the profoundness of the formation, the black sphere was definitely an incredible treasure. Monarch Songyong looked outside the hall. With a smile, Dongbua Shui Ying waved his hand, and with a rumble, the door closed. I'll just say it directly. I reckon that your highness has already guessed it. Monarch Songyong waved his hand, and an illusory black sphere appeared in front of him. This is precisely the treasure I need. Dongbua Shui Ying nodded with a smile. Just as I guessed. Could Monarch Songyong tell me what it is exactly? What secret does it have? Chapter 530. The 9 Rigid Prefecture Master and the Sky River Prefecture Master were the first 2 stage 4 world deities to pay a visit. After sending them off, in the following month, other stage 4 world deities came to pay a visit. If it was an ordinary person or a weaker one, they would probably want to receive a sufficiently precious gift. But the stronger one was, the harder it was for them to receive a gift. Most of the visiting stage 4 world deities brought demon bone ash along with them. Normally, it was impossible to buy even if one wanted it. But these overlord existences in the deity world could take out some if they really wanted it. After all, they had lived for a long time and had a deeper foundation. Dongbua Shui Ying only said, I can't accept it for free, but I'm willing to buy it. 50 million deity crystals per kilogram of demon bone ash is enough for me to buy 5 kilograms. Although cultivating the 4th volume of Luminous Sun required more rare treasures and demon bone ash, he did not have enough deity crystals on him unless he took out the treasures in Crimson Rock Mountain to exchange. Secondly, he was not in a hurry. After all, cultivating the 4th volume of Luminous Sun would require him to become a stage 4 world deity. Once he had accumulated more deity crystals, he could slowly buy it. This 50 million deity crystals per kilogram, 10 million deity crystals is enough. Those stage 4 world deities still felt that Dongbua Shui Ying's price was too high. 50 million deity crystals, I'm willing to buy 5 kilograms, Dongbua Shui Ying said. This price was not considered cheap, nor could it be considered karma. It was just that they had some friendship. In the end, it was the first 5-stage 4-world deities to rush over. Dongbua Shui Ying bought 5 kilograms of demon bone ash each, and they could be considered to have gotten to know each other. Sigh. It's not easy to form karma with Dongbua Shui Ying. His Highness Dongbua is the personal disciple of His Majesty. He is not stupid. How could he casually accept a gift? In a short month, a total of 35 stage 4-world deities came to pay a visit. Some wanted to form karma, while others just wanted to get to know each other. Many of these stage 4-world deities came from faraway places. However, none of the Almighties came to visit him. Only the familiar Chihua Laozu came to congratulate him from afar. After all, the Almighties had already transcended. They were not as anxious as the stage 4-world deities. The sun. It was one of the 2 most mysterious and powerful stars. Along with the moon star, it was located at the 2 poles of the immortal world, forever illuminating the immortal world, the material world, and the dark abyss. Furthermore, it was impossible to find it by flying normally. Boom! The sun was a gigantic fireball. The flames on its surface were liquid, just like the seawater of a planet. The flames of the sun star were also flowing, incomparably hot and terrifying. However, its power could radiate through the entire material plane, the dark abyss, and the dark abyss, which showed how terrifying it was. Its laws were much more complicated than the laws of heaven and earth. It was comparable to the laws of the material world and the dark abyss. Many Almighties often came to the sun star. On the surface of the sun star, there was a house with a small courtyard. The courtyard was only about 10 meters in radius. Outside the small courtyard was the boundless flames of the sun. Within the small courtyard, there was a white-haired elder with a youthful face laughing loudly. I, Chihua, am truly lucky. Back then, I helped that brat Dongbua. Who would have thought that he would have such accomplishments today? I'm afraid that he might even surpass me in the future. The karma he owes me isn't light at all. Back then, to Chihua Laozu, saving Jing Xiu was as easy as lifting a finger. But to the Dongbua Shui Ying, it was something he was willing to exchange with his life for. He begged the temporal temple, but the temporal temple was disdainful. They believed that Dongbua Shui Ying didn't have any value at all. After all, to save Jing Xiu back then, they either needed a rare treasure that could recreate a soul, or they needed a powerful existence to act. Both of these options were extremely costly. Dongbua Shui Ying was at his wit's end. Even if he begged for help, there was no way out. Despite being a powerful existence, Chihua Laozu still acted. This karma, to Dongbua Shui Ying, it was a karma he would have to repay with his life. Dongbua brat, your future is limitless. In the future, this old man will need your help. Don't reject me. When Chihua Laozu congratulated him, he specially added a sentence. Forefather, you only need to say a word. Dongbua Shui Ying will risk his life to help forefather. Dongbua Shui Ying was straightforward. There's no rush. At the very least, I'll ask for your help after you become a powerful existence. Chihua Laozu said. Dongbua Shui Ying was very grateful. Because Chihua Laozu said this sentence, it meant that this karma could be repaid after he became a powerful existence. Then, when he became a powerful existence from stage 4, the impact of this huge karma would be very small. 3 months after Dongbua Shui Ying became a stage 3 world deity, at the border between the deity world and the dark abyss, a gigantic black palm pierced through the void and descended, enveloping a region of 500 billion kilometers. That vast region of 500 billion kilometers was completely frozen. The venomous Ying world deity, who was originally fleeing in panic, stared at the gigantic palm in horror. She anxiously shouted, Monarch, Monarch, please spare my life. Please spare my life. Her other avatar had just been captured, and this body of hers had attempted to flee in vain. Spare your life. I'm going to give you to Dongbua Shui Ying as a gift. The terrifying black palm directly grabbed out. Venomous Ying world deity struggled with all her might, but the space around her was completely frozen. Venomous Ying world deity felt despair. The moment she heard that Dongbua Shui Ying had become a stage 3 world deity, she fell into a daze. She no longer had any wishful thinking and immediately began to flee. Now, Dongbua Shui Ying had yet to act, but an ancient stage 4 world deity who had lived for whom knew how long had taken action. This old man had carefully investigated the area for 3 months before confirming the whereabouts of the 2 bodies of the venomous Ying world deity. Only then did he act and capture both of them. It was true that the moment he acted, the venomous Ying world deity no longer had any hope. While the venomous Ying world deity was being captured, Monarch Song Yong finally came to pay a visit to Dongbua Shui Ying in Eastern Region City. Monarch Song Yong. Many of the soldiers and female attendants within the supervisor envoy residence were watching curiously. 3 months ago, Monarch Song Yong had fought with Shui Ying in the sky above the Eastern Region City. Now, Monarch Song Yong still dared to show up? Furthermore, the one who had assassinated Commander Bai Li Shang was a subordinate of Monarch Song Yong. Both sides had a grudge against each other. Monarch, this way please. A world deity guard personally led the way. Having seen too many stage 4 world deities over the past few days, these guards had long since calmed down. Soon, they were led into the hall. Within the hall, only Dongbua Shui Ying was seated. He pointed to the opposite side and said, Monarch Song Yong, this way please. Monarch Song Yong took a seat, facing Dongbua Shui Ying from a distance. Your Highness Dongbua, I am truly ashamed. I hope that you won't take offense to my actions. Dongbua Shui Ying smiled. Monarch Song Yong, let's not speak such empty words. I, Dongbua Shui Ying, may be confident in my abilities, but I do not believe that I can make a stage 4 world deity personally apologize to me. Furthermore, I only killed one of your subordinates' avatars. You personally came to kill me, and now you've come to apologize. Monarch Song Yong, you must have a request, and it's not a small one. Admirable, Monarch Song Yong praised. Speak, what is it? Dongbua Shui Ying asked. He was also curious as to why Monarch Song Yong had come. Was it because of that black sphere? Over the past 3 months, he had spent a great deal of time researching the black sphere. His true body had spent 100 times faster time in Crimson Rock Mountain of the Xia people's world, but he had still not been able to uncover its secrets. Even so, there was one thing he was certain of. Based on the profoundness of the formation, the black sphere was definitely an incredible treasure. Monarch Song Yong looked outside the hall. With a smile, Dongbua Shui Ying waved his hand, and with a rumble, the door closed. I'll just say it directly. I reckon that your highness has already guessed it. Monarch Song Yong waved his hand, and an illusory black sphere appeared in front of him. This is precisely the treasure I need. Dongbua Shui Ying nodded with a smile. Just as I guessed. Could Monarch Song Yong tell me what it is exactly? What secret does it have? Chapter 531. Monarch Song Yong frowned as he looked at Dongbua Shui Ying in front of him. Dongbua Shui Ying simply smiled back at him, causing Monarch Song Yong to feel somewhat anxious and helpless. This Dongbua Shui Ying is truly direct. He knows that I can't do anything to him, so he has nothing to fear. Despite his helplessness, Monarch Song Yong understood the situation. With a thought, his world deity domain immediately spread out. Even the treasures he carried with him that isolated all probing of laws were activated, ensuring that the hall was absolutely safe from anyone's prying eyes. Dongbua Shui Ying silently watched on. Your Highness, could you first let me see if you have such a treasure? Monarch Song Yong asked. Sure. Dongbua Shui Ying extended his hand, and a black sphere appeared on his palm. Its surface was covered with countless, uneven patterns. Monarch Song Yong's eyes lit up the moment he laid eyes on it, and he became incomparably excited. With a single glance, he could tell that this was the treasure he had been yearning for even in his dreams. With this treasure, he would be able to greatly increase his strength. At present, he was just a young stage 4 world deity, and even those old fellows who had lived for a long time were much stronger than him. For example, Jing Xiao, who had obtained the incomplete heart sword diagram and fused it with her secret technique, was now comparable to Monarch Song-yong after stepping into the stage for World Deity Realm. This level of strength could only be considered average among Stage 4 World Deities. Compared to New Stage 4 World Deities, he was slightly stronger. However, compared to eldest disciple Brother Hui Ming or the Calm Sea Prefecture Master, he was still a notch weaker, let alone Monarch Mo Shui, who had fought undefeated against powerful existences. With this, my strength will greatly increase, and I'll be able to obtain even more precious treasures. My chances of transcending will also increase, Monarch Song-yong thought. The stronger one was, the easier it would be for one to obtain precious treasures. How is it? Dongbua Shuang flipped his hand and put it away. Your Highness shouldn't be able to discover its secrets, right? Monarch Song-yong laughed. I can say that in the entire deity world, aside from me, there's probably no one who can unravel its secrets. In the hands of others, it's just a plaything, completely useless. Only in my hands will it be of some use. Oh, Dongbua Shuang responded. He had studied the Black Sphere for a long time, but he had not discovered any secrets. However, anyone with a bit of eyesight could tell that this was no ordinary item. Haha, I have already prepared 5 kilograms of demon bone ash. Monarch Song-yong was extremely cordial. There are also 2 Zhou beasts, both of which have the combat power of Stage 3 World Deities. I am willing to gift them to your Highness, as long as your Highness gives me the Black Sphere. Dongbua Shuang clicked his tongue and sighed. 5 pounds of demon bone ash. 2 Swanee beasts? Although I have never heard of a Zhou beast, it is extremely rare for it to have the battle power of a Stage 3 World Deity. What grand gesture! Monarch Song-yong hastily replied. Your Highness, the Zhou beast is a type of insect beast that I painstakingly raised. It is absolutely loyal. I heard that your Highness has a pair of children. These 2 Zhou beasts can be taken care of by your Highness's children. They're definitely the best guards. That's a pretty big deal. What a pity. Dongbua Shuang shook his head. Previously, when many Stage 4 World Deities came to visit me, many of them came to gift me demon bone ash. I also bought some of them, so I'm not lacking in demon bone ash. As for the insect beasts, I don't lack these 2 insect beasts. Monarch Song-yong's expression changed slightly. This Dongbua Shuang was clearly not satisfied. His appetite was quite big. But what could he do? Your Highness, this Black Sphere is useless to you, Monarch Song-yong said. As long as your Highness gives it to me, you can name whatever treasures you need. As long as I, Song-yong, am able to produce it, I am willing to give it to your Highness. Furthermore, I can swear an oath that I will fight for your Highness 3 times in the future. As long as I do not lose my life, I will not retreat, even if I have to lose a clone. Dongbua Shuang looked at Monarch Song-yong. Smiling, he picked up the wine flask on the table and poured himself some wine. Don't be in such a hurry. Let's first drink a cup and slowly talk. Monarch Song-yong could only suppress his temper and pour wine as well, accompanying Dongbua Shuang in drinking. He had already said everything he could say. As long as it was within his means, he was willing to pay. Now, the decision was entirely up to Dongbua Shuang. Monarch Song-yong, you still haven't told me what this is. Dongbua Shuang lifted the wine flask and took a sip. Monarch Song-yong hesitated for a moment, then said, this Black Sphere is actually an extremely valuable tool used to breed insects. Tool? Dongbua Shuang frowned. That's not all. Is a mere tool worth you putting your life on the line? Although the tool itself is valuable, what's even more valuable is what's inside, Monarch Song-yong said in a low voice. Inside the tool is an insect egg known as a flowing light insect. Snow Eagle's pupils shrank, and his expression changed greatly. Flowing light insect? It was a very ordinary name, but it represented a legend, a very frightening legend. This was one of the most frightening insects out of all the countless insects. There was once a Stage 3 World Deity who was able to breed a fully matured flowing light insect that could rival powerful existences. This was also one of the most enviable aspects of cultivating insects. It allowed one to cultivate an insect that far surpassed one's own strength. There's a powerful existence hidden within this black sphere, Dongbua Shui Ying muttered inwardly. Furthermore, it was an absolutely loyal, powerful existence. The flowing light insect was extremely powerful, but by attaching one's consciousness to it, it could move independently. It could also be protected by the flowing light insect, allowing a world deity to hide within its body. Furthermore, the flowing light insect was famous for its speed. It was a terrifying insect that excelled in speed and could protect its master. In a head-on battle, it could rival powerful existences. It's just an insect egg, Monarch Song Yong said. Monarch Song Yong hurriedly said. Without special breeding methods and painstaking efforts to raise it, it would be impossible for it to immediately rival a powerful existence. Furthermore, apart from me, I'm afraid that no one else can open this tool. I can tell you that the complex array diagram on this black sphere is equivalent to a lock. If one doesn't know the method to open it, they won't be able to open it. I'm afraid that not even His Majesty, the God Emperor, can do it. Can't do it? Dongbua Shuang chuckled. That's not necessarily true. Monarch Song Yong was startled. Your Highness, please state a condition. None of you can open it, and even if you do, you don't know how to cultivate it. He did not dare to gamble. After all, the bloodshed God Emperor was the strongest expert in the deity world. Even if it was an absolute art, he would still throw it out. Such an existence might really know some unique cultivation techniques for the insect beasts. Perhaps he might be able to open it, or perhaps he might even have a way to nurture it. In truth, Dongbua Shuang did not want to bother his master. Furthermore, cultivating insects required time and energy. You have a method to cultivate insects, right? Do you also have a method to open it? Dongbua Shui Ying asked. I obtained it from the ruins. Monarch Song Yong nodded. Give me the method, Dongbua Shui Ying said. Without the slightest hesitation, Monarch Song Yong flipped his hand, causing a thick black book to appear. Your Highness, you only need to use your consciousness to obtain the inheritance. This is an extremely ancient and precious method to cultivate insects. Its value is probably close to that of an absolute art. After all, there is a huge problem in cultivating insects. One needed to find the eggs to cultivate them. I'm saying that you give me this book, Dongbua Shuang said. Add 5 kilograms of demon bone ash and 2 Bayan beasts. This black sphere belongs to you. I'm giving you the inheritance? Monarch Song Yong was stunned. Inheritance could be passed down from generation to generation. It was just like how Dongbua Shui Ying had learned the luminous sun technique. Although he had learned it himself, he had been unable to pass it down to others. This was because his cultivation level was too low. He could only teach it to others if he mastered it. That's right, Dongbua Shui Ying said with a nod. What do you want the inheritance for? Can't you just learn it once? Monarch Song Yong was somewhat dissatisfied. The inheritance represented an ancient method to cultivate insects. Even if he were to make a deal with another power and let another expert learn it once, the other party would have to pay a huge price. Dongbua Shui Ying smiled. Haven't you already learned it? Once you obtain this black sphere, your strength will definitely increase greatly in the future. In the end, this inheritance is still an external object, isn't it? Furthermore, I don't have the flowing light insect, so it's useless for me to learn it. After all, I don't have the time to waste on it. Why do you have to exchange it for this black sphere? That's why you should give me the inheritance, as well as your previous conditions. The black sphere is yours, Dongbua Shuang said. Only then can this deal be considered fair. Monarch Song Yong hesitated. He couldn't bear to part with it. He really couldn't bear to part with it. This inheritance was an extremely important treasure to him, and he hadn't expected that Dongbua Shui Ying would directly ask for it. Even if I keep it, I can only use it to make some deals. After all, I've already learned it, so it won't be of much use to me, Monarch Song Yong thought to himself. As for not being able to teach it to a disciple, if I'm powerful enough, why would I care about a disciple? Clearly, Dongbua Shui didn't care about my previous conditions. Forget it. After the deal, I'll lose some external objects, but my strength will increase greatly. As far as I'm concerned, it's still worth it. Monarch Sangyong made his decision after some thought. Looking at Dongbo Shuang, he said, "Fine, I agree. Then let's make an oath." Dongbo Shuang said, "Let my master bear witness." Chapter 532. Fine. Monarch Sangyong did not hesitate. The stately Bloodblade would not lower himself to be greedy for such an item. Since both sides had come to an agreement, they naturally began to make an oath. The oath naturally stipulated that Dongbo Shuang could not be his enemy. After all, if Monarch Sangyong's strength increased even faster, he could rely on the flowing light bug to threaten him. That would be troublesome. Of course, Dongbo Shuang believed that once Monarch Sangyong nurtured the flowing light bug to maturity, he would have the strength to deal with him. This kid's luck is pretty good. This should be the 5th insect scripture. The Bloodblade in front of the cosmic furnace sensed the oath and immediately understood what was going on. He could not help but smile. Although nurturing insects is a side path, the 5th insect scripture has indeed reached an extremely profound level in terms of formation diagrams. It could be used as a reference. Monarch Sangyong's guess was correct. God Emperor did not care about this insect scripture. As the strongest expert in the deity world, God Emperor's goal had already far exceeded the imagination of Sangyong and the others. That was on a completely different level. After making an oath, he did not dare to violate it. The power of an oath was very strong. Even with the protection of the material world, Stage 3 world deities did not fear Bloodblade if they did not make an oath. However, if they made an oath, God Emperor's attacks would be much stronger, allowing him to kill Stage 3 world deities through the material world. If they were not in the material world, like the deity world or the dark abyss, the power of an oath was even stronger. Even Stage 4 world deities and powerful existences would have to be careful and not make an oath lightly. Once an oath was made, it was impossible to violate it. Haha, Your Highness Dongbo, you are truly ruthless. Monarch Sangyong was in a good mood after obtaining the black sphere. He immediately laughed. Your conditions really make my heart ache. My heart aches. Dongbo Shuang also said, compared to Monarch Sangyong, what I have is nothing. Obtaining this inheritance will not increase my strength at all. I just want my children and descendants to learn it, so that even those with weak cultivation talent will have a way to protect themselves. This was pure nonsense. Dongbo Shuang did not want his children to walk on such an unorthodox path. His Highness Dongbo really treats his children well. Monarch Sangyong smiled. Since the deal had been made, he had no regrets. He had already made preparations beforehand. Even if he had to give up all of his treasures and even his empire, he would still obtain the black sphere. Because everything else was external, the flowing light worm inside the black sphere could allow him to fight against almighties. I haven't seen the flowing light worm yet. Let me have a look, Dongbo Shuang said. All right. Monarch Sangyong placed the black sphere on his table and gently stroked it with his hand. Immediately, the uneven patterns on the black sphere began to emit light. This light illuminated the surrounding air, revealing a three-dimensional formation diagram. At this moment, this incomparably profound formation diagram was gradually changing. Many different parts of the three-dimensional formation diagram were changing. Whoosh! The light from the three-dimensional formation diagram retracted, and the black sphere began to transform internally. Many of the uneven patterns on its surface began to split apart, revealing a sparkling egg of light within. Lying within the egg of light was a strange worm. The worm emitted a water-like radiance that constantly flowed, occasionally taking the shape of a worm. Just by looking at it, Dongbo Shuang felt his heart palpitate. It was as if he could already see the might of this worm. He could not help but say, "The flowing light worm gives me the feeling that after it matures, it will not only be able to fight against almighties. It will only be at the level of almighties," Monarch Sangyong replied. Monarch Sangyong continued, "Unless the flowing light insect underwent another transformation, but that would be too difficult. Your Highness Dongbo, you will naturally understand once you learn the inheritance." Dongbua Shuang nodded. Then if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. If His Highness Dongbua has any orders for me, feel free to let me know. I can do anything for His Highness 3 times, Monarch Song Yong said with a smile. Very well. Dongbua Shuang stood up to send Monarch Song Yong off. He knew that Monarch Song Yong could not wait any longer and wanted to quickly return to cultivate his insects. In the underground hall of the supervisor envoy's residence, Jing Xiu was currently in closed-door cultivation for a long period of time. Since she had become a stage 4 world deity, she could no longer wantonly show off in public. Normally, when she saw her son and daughter, she would only condense the energy of the world into their bodies. Dongbua, you can ask for more. No matter how much Monarch Song Yong's heart aches, he will still have to take it out, Jing Xiu teased. Dongbua Shuang shook his head. That's enough. No matter what, Monarch Song Yong will never give me that flowing light worm. Without the method to cultivate it, without the method to activate the formation diagram, it is impossible for me to obtain it. Since that's the case, I'll just have to take a few more treasures. What I value the most is this inheritance. An ancient insect cultivation technique can cultivate insects that can even fight against powerful existences. Just the formation diagram reflected by that black sphere is already so profound. Dongbua Shuang sighed. The existence who created this cultivation technique must have reached an extremely high realm. If we can use this cultivation technique as a reference, it will be of great help to our cultivation. Different paths had their own similarities. Then I'll give it a try. Jing Xiu was also very curious. After all, this was a complete cultivation technique. You go first. Do we, husband and wife, care about who goes first and who goes last? Dongbua Shuang laughed. Jing Xiu immediately sent her consciousness into the inheritance, and for a moment, she became completely silent. Only faint fluctuations could be felt, indicating that she was currently receiving a large amount of information. Only after a breath's time did Jing Xiu recover. Dongbua, you've really profited this time, Jing Xiu exclaimed. This cultivation technique is truly incomparably profound. Even if it's a side path, it's still quite amazing. Oh, Dongbua Shuang also sent his consciousness into the inheritance. Bang! A large amount of information surged into his mind. Countless array diagrams entered his mind, as well as all sorts of words. Only after a long time did he manage to learn everything. For a moment, a unique black book appeared in Dongbua Shuang's mind. The black book could be flipped open, and within it there were countless array diagrams and simple words to guide one. This black book floated in front of the true deity heart in his sea of consciousness. The true deity heart's small hands were still flipping through the book. The further one flipped through the black book, the more complex and profound it became. There were even some array diagrams that surpassed the array diagrams reflected by the black sphere. Black bug scripture? After learning it, Dongbua Shuang also understood the name of this cultivation technique. It was a technique specifically used to cultivate insects, and the most complex part of it was the array diagrams. If one's cultivation realm was extremely high, they would be able to use ordinary insects to nurture powerful insects. Naturally, it would be much easier to obtain terrifying insects like the flowing light insect. That was because they would naturally grow stronger. If one were to intentionally nurture them, they would naturally become even more extraordinary. Impressive, Dongbua Shuang praised. It's truly impressive. It feels like the laws of heaven and earth can be casually kneaded and formed into countless array diagrams. Jing Xiu also sighed in admiration. The two of them did not know how to cultivate insects, but this array diagram allowed them to have a deeper understanding of the laws of heaven and earth. This was also the main reason why Dongbua Shuang wanted this cultivation technique. Any top-notch cultivation technique was extremely profound and could be used as a reference. After obtaining the black bug scripture, Dongbua Shuang and Jing Xiu spent a lot of time comprehending these array diagrams. In fact, Dongbua Shuang even discovered many imperfections in his spear art, destruction. That was because there were some array diagrams that represented destruction. This caused Dongbua Shui-Ying to be greatly moved. For example, his own secret skill, World Prison, had also started to fuse some of the insights he gained from the array diagrams, allowing him to create an even more powerful secret skill. In the past, Dongbua Shui-Ying would often study the usage of the laws of profound mysteries in the luminous sun. But the luminous sun was extremely young and extremely tough. It was the same style. On the other hand, the black bug scripture could be said to be all-encompassing. Darkness, destruction, life, gentleness, treachery, tyranny, all sorts of array diagrams were an eye-opener for Dongbua Shui-Ying. Only half a month had passed. It was already interrupted. Humph. A man whose entire body was covered in black fur and armor revealed a trace of a smile as he stood at the entrance of the supervisor's residence. He directly said, "Hurry up and send a message. Just say that I, Emperor Flame Demon, have come to pay a visit." Chapter 533. Within the palace hall of the supervisor envoy's residence. "Monarch, please take a seat." Dongbua Shui-Ying was seated behind a long table, carefully observing Monarch Demonic Flame. Monarch Demonic Flame's entire body was covered in black fur, and his eyes were blood red. He emitted an evil and cruel aura. His blood-red eyes were even faintly burning with flames. This was a stage 4 world deity with a fearsome reputation. He was much stronger than Monarch Sangyong, and was also in existence close to becoming a powerful existence. "Ha! Your Highness Dongbua's reputation has spread far and wide. Many of us old fellows are discussing your Highness." Monarch Demonic Flame laughed. "It's a pity that they didn't bring any gifts. Otherwise, they would have long since paid you a visit." "Monarch, you praise me too much. Compared to all of you, I'm still lacking," Dongbua Shui-Ying said. Ha! Don't be so humble. If you and I could both become powerful existences, I dare say that you would definitely be ahead of me." Monarch Demonic Flame beamed. However, his face was so savage and ugly that even when he smiled, it was still quite horrifying. "Today, I've come to your Highness Dongbua's place to deliver a gift to you, as well as to plant some good karma. Ha! I don't expect anything in return from your Highness. I only hope that your Highness can help me out once you become a powerful existence." He was determined. If Dongbua Shui-Ying were to become a powerful existence, he would most likely be on the same level as the 3 ancestors. The price to ask for the help of such an existence was simply too great. "Oh!" Dongbua Shui-Ying looked at him. This Monarch Demonic Flame was truly confident. "Your Highness, please take a look." Monarch Demonic Flame waved his hand. "Who?" 2 female world deities with enormous snake tails immediately appeared, bound in chains. They looked exactly the same. Both were venomous Ying world deities. Venomous Ying? Dongbua Shui-Ying was startled. Both venomous Ying world deities had a hint of despair in their eyes. She looked at Dongbua Shui-Ying with a pleading gaze. "Venomous Ying and I do have some enmity." Dongbua Shui-Ying nodded. "But she poses no threat to me at present. Once I grow stronger in the future, killing her will be as easy as lifting a finger." He no longer placed venomous Ying in his eyes. This venomous Ying world deity is extremely cautious, and it took me several months to capture her with the help of karma. After all, both of her avatars must be captured at the same time. But what your Highness said isn't wrong either. Once your Highness becomes a stage 4 world deity in the future and comprehend the karma deity heart, you'll naturally be able to capture both of her avatars with ease. However, I have acted to capture her so that your Highness can deal with your enemies more quickly. Furthermore, the venomous Ying world deity has a treasure on her. Treasure? Dongbua Shui-Ying was surprised. "Your Highness, please take a look." Emperor Flame Demon flipped his hand, and a green leaf appeared in his palm. The green leaf exuded an ancient and boundless aura, making even Dongbua Shui-Ying feel inferior. This is a remnant of the 10,000 poison record, the supreme inheritance of the voodoo Tao. Monarch Flame Devil chuckled. I never imagined that this venomous Ying-world deity would have such a treasure on her. Even though the Tao of hexing poison is a side path, there are still ways to transcend it. We can use it as a reference. Even though this is just a remnant, it is still a remnant of the 10,000 poison record. Donghua Shuang glanced at it and shook his head. The Tao of hexing poison mainly focuses on the study of plants, rocks, and other myriad existences. I don't have the mood to study them. Monarch Flame Devil was startled. He felt slightly awkward. Donghua Shuang was right. Indeed, every Tao had its own similarities. But if the arrayed diagrams of the Black Bug scripture could be used as a reference, then the Tao of hexing poison regarding the study of plants, rocks, and other myriad existences was truly useless. Furthermore, it was just a remnant. Its value was even lower. For instance, the complete Black Bug scripture was much more valuable than this remnant of the 10,000 poison record. In truth, only absolute arts like the luminous sun, which could be cultivated and allowed one's combat power to rise explosively, were truly priceless. Even a portion of such information was extremely valuable. For instance, the heart sword diagram fragment that Jing Xiu had obtained was also used for combat and was similarly valuable. This was also the reason why Forefather Golden Firmament was so furious. Forefather Golden Firmament had spent a long period of time just to gather the final part of the heart sword diagram. Yet, because of Jing Xiu, he had failed at the last step. Naturally, his anger would soar to the heavens. Even Monarch Mo Shui could not protect his daughter. Even Jing Xiu's previous master, a powerful existence, did not dare to step forward. In her previous life, Jing Xiu could only grit her teeth and choose to reincarnate, starting a brand new life. Forget about this remnant of the 10,000 poison record. Donghua Shuang shook his head. He did not think much of it, and it was useless to Jing Xiu. As for his son and daughter, Donghua Shuang did not wish for them to waste their time on hexing poison. Furthermore, it was just a remnant. The venomous Ying world deity had cultivated for such a long time. If it were the complete version, Donghua Shuang would still be interested. I'll accept this venomous Ying world deity. Many thanks, Monarch Flame Devil. Donghua Shuang smiled. I'll remember this favor. Haha, that's fine as well. Monarch Flame Devil stood up. Originally, he had only wanted to give the venomous Ying world deity to Shuang. This remnant piece of the myriad poison record had only been discovered after he had captured her and searched her body. Shuang was a personal disciple of His Majesty, so it was within his expectations that he would look down on the Tao of hexing poison. Then I won't stay any longer. I wish Your Highness Donghua good luck in becoming a powerful existence soon. Monarch Flame Devil laughed. I'll accept Monarch's auspicious words. Donghua Shuang also stood up to send him off. These old fellows all treated Donghua Shuang as an existence on the same level, and they all wanted to befriend him. After all, Donghua Shuang's combat power was at the stage for world deity level, and his potential was much higher than theirs. Even powerful existences could not underestimate Donghua Shuang. After sending off Monarch Flame Devil, Donghua Shuang returned to the palace hall. The two venomous Ying world deities were bound, and their true deity hearts had been sealed. They could not struggle at all. Her two avatars looked at Donghua Shuang, and one of them growled, Donghua Shuang, you're amazing. I admit that I was wrong about you. I didn't dare to disrupt your myriad flower feast, allowing you to become a disciple of His Majesty God Emperor and soar to the heavens. Donghua Shuang watched from the side. That's right. The reason why he could rise so quickly was because of his master. His master was the strongest expert in the deity world, and his guidance on the chaotic deity heart and extremity deity heart pointed directly to the essence. Furthermore, he had bestowed an absolute art to him, as well as many spirit fruits and treasures. Without his master's guidance, his cultivation speed would definitely have been greatly reduced. But this was also normal. Those who had created miracles, like Monarch Extermination and Monarch Green, had all received nurturing that was not any less than what he had received. Right now, I'm in your hands. The venomous Ying world deity growled. Kill me, right now. She could neither live nor die. Do you want to die so much? Dongbua Shui, Ying softly asked. The venomous Ying world deity was startled. A sliver of disbelief appeared in her eyes as she said, If your highness is willing to spare my life, I'm naturally willing to serve you. You're overthinking things, Dongbua Shui said. The venomous Ying world deity's eyes were filled with terror. Could you be? What she feared the most was Dongbua Shui using all sorts of tortures to torture her, making her unable to die even if she wanted to. That was a true nightmare. That was why she had shouted for Dongbua Shui to kill her from the start. After all, it would be a clean and efficient death, and there would be no pain at all. She would truly be tortured for millions or even billions of years. Just the thought of it terrified her. Seeing the terrified look on the venomous Ying world deity's face, Dongbua Shui sighed inwardly. The winner takes all. Back then, if not for Big Brother White Sand City Lord acting, if not for him being a grade 1 true meaning transcendent, his wife would most likely have been tortured as well. Oh no, his wife Jing Qiu might be a deity on the surface, but in reality, her combat power was probably above that of the venomous Ying world deity. His wife had truly concealed herself deeply, not revealing herself until the very last moment. Let us end our grudges here. Dongbua Shui extended his finger, causing 2 streams of white light to fly out from his fingertips. They drilled into the foreheads of the 2 venomous Ying world deity bodies, instantly destroying the sealed true deity heart within them. The aura of the 2 venomous Ying world deity bodies dissipated. Only a look of relief could be seen on their faces. Dongbua Shui shook his head inwardly. One could not be too overbearing in one's actions. Not giving others a path of survival was the same as not giving oneself a path of survival. Even though he was a personal disciple of His Majesty and a lord of a material world, he was only vicious and merciless towards his enemies. He would not be too excessive towards otherworld deities. After all, if one offended too many people, one could very well end up kicking an iron plate. The venomous Ying world deity had previously not placed a deity brat in her eyes. How could she have known that one of the people she had offended was a grade 1 true meaning transcendent, while the other was someone stronger than her, Jing Qiu? Chapter 534. Time passed. Dongbua Shui influence within the Calm Sea Prefecture grew. Everyone knew that there were only 2 clans with the highest status in the prefecture. One was the Calm Sea Prefecture Master, the Longshore clan, and the other was the Dongbua clan. Even Dongbua Yu and Dongbua Qingyao had great influence within the prefecture. When it came to Dongbua Shui, many powers would find it hard to even meet him. As such, they could only settle for the next best thing, befriending Dongbua Yu and Dongbua Qingyao. To this, Shui and his wife did not demand too much from their children. They only focused more on guiding them in their cultivation. As for the issue of their moral character, they had already endured in the Crimson Rock Mountain world for several thousand years. Their character had long since been set, and they did not have to worry about becoming a silk pants. However, there was one thing that made Jing Qiu feel helpless. Dongbua Yu and Dongbua Qingyao did not really listen to her. Perhaps they felt that their mother was only a peak stage deity, and they were also peak stage deities. Why should they listen to her? Even though they were their mother, they only listened to her on the surface. In their hearts, they still harbored some doubts. They did not dare to cultivate according to their mother's instructions, fearing that they would go astray. They worshipped Dongbua Shui even more, and they had absolute trust in Dongbua Shui teachings. Dongbua Shui felt helpless about this. You 2 brats don't even know that your mother is actually a stage 4 world deity. Her realm is even higher than mine. Furthermore, stage 4 world deities are already beginning to comprehend the various deity hearts of the laws of heaven and earth. Others could only beg for such guidance, but these 2 brats were not willing to listen to it. But she couldn't say it out loud, so Jing Qiu could only swallow her grievances. Still, She was worried about her children, so she told Shuang many of her thoughts about her children's cultivation. In the underground hall of the supervisor envoy's residence, Donghua Shuang was seated cross-legged. A gigantic black formation appeared in front of him. The gigantic formation exuded a dark aura as countless profound mysteries fused together. Dark world. Donghua Shuang muttered softly. Flowers were blooming, plants were growing, the sun was shining, the wind was blowing, the gravel was flying, the river was rippling, the mountains were undulating. The world is colorful and all-encompassing. Everything can be accommodated. It's just that my current cultivation level is low, and my usage of the laws and profound mysteries is very ordinary. Compared to the black bug scripture and luminous sun, the difference is too great. Donghua Shuang thought to himself. In recent years, he had been meticulously studying and absorbing some of the laws of profound mysteries from the array diagram, continuously perfecting his own secret technique. The more he improved, the greater the gap between them. He was filled with respect for the seniors who created the black bug scripture and luminous sun. Prison. Donghua Shuang thought. Hua hua hua. Countless white chains danced around him. They were incomparably gentle and rippled like water, permeating the entire hall. If it was said that when he was at the second heavenly layer, Donghua Shuang's world prison was still layered with all sorts of bindings and restraints, it was extremely hard to deal with. But now, this world prison was as gentle as water and did not seem tyrannical at all. Only when one was truly trapped in this prison would one understand how terrifying it was. I'm improving. After Jingqiu's inner world broke through to the fourth heavenly layer, and she obtained a blood-refined deity weapon, she is also improving. Donghua Shuang mumbled to himself. Right now, she can only protect herself in front of my wife. Pitiful. Even now, he was still being suppressed by his wife. Although she had already reached the third revolution of the third volume of the luminous sun 2 years ago, greatly increasing her strength, the blood-refined deity weapon she refined was a gigantic sword that could split into 9 thin swords. These 9 thin swords displayed some of the techniques from the remnant of the heart sword diagram, and were extremely powerful. Clearly, the large amount of array diagrams from the black bug scripture was of great help to Jingqiu when she was comprehending the remnant of the heart sword diagram. Donghua Shuang was considered not bad among stage 4 world deities, but he could only protect himself. However, being able to protect himself meant that the two of them were very close in strength. In the starry sky, on a cold, desolate star, this star was completely condensed from ice, emitting an endless amount of cold air. The gravity here was extremely strong, and even ordinary transcendents would not be able to survive here. Hua, an old man with snow-white hair and a snow-white beard, dressed in a black robe, suddenly appeared out of thin air, appearing in the depths of this icy planet's Grand Canyon. He stretched out his hand, and a crystalline grain of sand appeared in his hand. With a thought, the crystalline grain of sand changed into ordinary ice particles. He threw it, and the grain of sand in his hand burrowed into the layer of ice beneath his feet, becoming inconspicuous. So, he took a step forward and immediately disappeared. He had already arrived at another void far away. Looking at the distant dark star, the snow-white, bearded, black-robed old man laughed coldly. I, Mo Shui, am about to lose my true deity heart and am preparing to reincarnate. Why would I be afraid of your threats? Humph, humph, humph. To be able to use this old life of mine, which is about to die, to fight for a future for my daughter, is worth it. My daughter's husband is Donghua Shuang. Humph, humph, humph. My daughter has already reached the stage 4 world deity realm. With my daughter's talent, although there is hope for her to become a powerful existence, it is still very difficult. However, with my help and her husband's help, she will definitely succeed. Monarch Mo Shui felt extremely carefree in his heart. Just a moment ago, another of his avatars had done something that made him feel delighted. Hong long long. Suddenly, a huge black array diagram began to appear in the surrounding vast void. The array diagram spanned more than 1 trillion miles, and each and every star was just as small that in this huge array diagram. Under the cover of the terrifying array diagram, the surrounding space-time was completely sealed and even solidified. Even with Monarch Mo Shue's strength, he could only fly with difficulty. Mo Shue, you can't escape. Hong 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 hong. Consecutively, 5 figures appeared in different directions of the huge black array diagram. 5 figures, each with a powerful aura. One of them was a huge black dragon with its head held high. There was also an old lady leaning on a wooden walking stick. The old lady's hair, however, extended for hundreds of millions of miles, turning into grayish-brown tree roots. Countless tree roots took root in the void. There was also a cold youth. Apart from the 3 of them being powerful existences, of the other 2, one was a charming red-robed woman, and the other was a rock giant whose entire body was burning with flames. These 2 were stage 4 world deities, but their power was not the least bit weaker than powerful existences. Mo Shue, your true deity heart is about to break apart, and you have no hope of transcending. Why must you fight with us for the true God weapon? The rock giant bellowed, flames rising from the surface of his body. Mo Shue, the huge black dragon said, if you hand over the true God weapon, you still have a chance to reincarnate. Otherwise, you won't even have the chance to reincarnate. I really don't know where you, Mo Shue, got the guts to actually dare to trick me. The cold youth's eyes were filled with anger. Mo Shue, if you turn back now and listen to me, I naturally won't treat you unfairly. The 5 terrifying experts surrounded him. Monarch Mo Shue laughed. Threatening me? I, Mo Shue, have been unhindered in the deity world for over 10 billion years, and today a true deity heart is about to break apart. What I still have to fear? If you continue to resist, you won't even have the chance to reincarnate. The cold youth bellowed. Reincarnate? How many stage 4 world deities can succeed in reincarnating? Monarch Mo Shue sneered. Don't use this to threaten me. Supervisor Envoy Mansion, Underground Hall. Snow Eagle, Snow Eagle. Dongbua Shue Ying was currently cultivating when Jing Xiu's voice came from another secret room in the hall. Amen? Dongbua Shue Ying opened his eyes, and the door leading to another secret room opened. Jing Xiu immediately walked in. What's the matter? Why are you so flustered? Dongbua Shue Ying looked at his wife. Jing Xiu was anxious and uneasy. Snow Eagle, something happened to my father. Chapter 535. Don't be anxious. What happened to Monarch Mo Shue? Dongbua Shue Ying discovered that his wife's emotions were not quite right. As a stage 4 world deity, his wife rarely lost her composure. Jing Xiu tried her best to calm herself down, before speaking with a trembling voice. It's like this. One of the bodies my father left behind to guard the empire was ambushed and killed. What? Dongbua Shue Ying was shocked. Monarch Mo Shue's avatar left behind to guard the empire? His strength is comparable to powerful existences, and he was left behind in his own territory, unable to even escape, yet he was killed? Amen. Jing Xiu nodded. A total of 5 people acted, 3 powerful existences, and 2 extremely powerful stage 4 world deities. They are Emperor Prison Dragon, Withered Tree Old Mother, Nine Yang Palace Head, Red Transient Empress, and Sovereign Zainua. Dongbua Shue Ying's expression changed. Father-in-law provoked so many experts to join hands to deal with him, and even the Dark Abyss got involved. Of the 5, Red Transient Empress and Sovereign Zainua were both stage 4 world deities, and Sovereign Zainua was a lava giant from the Dark Abyss, extremely powerful. Although the deity world and the Dark Abyss rarely interacted, if a world deity dared to barge into the Dark Abyss, they would be surrounded and killed. However, most powerful existences would often move together and enter some ancient ruins together. If they reached the level of Bloodblade, even the Abyss Ruler would be willing to befriend them, and Bloodblade's Bloodshed Tavern could be opened throughout the entire Dark Abyss. Emperor Prison Dragon and Withered Tree Old Mother are fine, but that Nine-Yong Palace head is the personal disciple of the Temporal Island Lord. He has an absolute art and is extremely powerful, close to the three ancestors. Dongbua Shui said he actually disregarded his reputation and joined hands with the other four to deal with father-in-law. Jing Qiu nodded lightly. What about father-in-law's other avatar? Dongbua Shui asked. It's fine for now. Jing Qiu was slightly uneasy. Dongbua Shui heaved a sigh of relief and asked, then why did the five of them attack father-in-law? Father knows that I have reached the stage 4 world deity realm, and that you have become a stage 2 world deity in a short 5,000 years, and have been accepted as a personal disciple by God Emperor. Jing Qiu said. Father immediately relaxed. Because his true deity heart was on the verge of collapsing, he decided to give it his all before he reincarnated. Let's go to the extremely dangerous ancient ruin Lake Heart Island to explore. Dongbua Shui nodded lightly. The ancient ruins had survived until now. There were also differences in the degree of danger. For example, the ruins discovered by Monarch Song Yong could be considered to be one of the less dangerous ones. As for the ruins of Lake Heart Island, it had an illustrious reputation amongst powerful existences and stage for world deities. This was an extremely terrifying remnant. Even His Majesty, God, Emperor, Temporal Island Lord, and the others were unable to truly explore and understand it. Over the long years, stage 4 world deities and a few powerful existences had ventured forth wave after wave. Of course, everyone only sent their avatars forward. Even if he died in battle, he could at least cultivate it back. There were many special places in the Lake Heart Island ruins. For example, forming his own laws. The laws within the ruins of Lake Heart Island were very special. Even the operating laws of the God world were unable to affect them. My father was working together with Nine-Yong Palace Master and Emperor Prison Dragon. Jing Qiu said. Later on, my father discovered a true God weapon and immediately fled with it, provoking the Nine-Yong Palace head and the others to chase after him. Furthermore, the ruins of the Lake Heart Island are filled with danger. My father has now charged into a whirlpool and is currently trapped in the depths of the island. I was able to temporarily escape from the pursuit of the Nine-Yong Palace head and the others. The 5 of them then joined forces to destroy one of my father's avatars. The Lake Heart Island historical remnant has its own system, and my father is trapped inside, unable to reincarnate. They are currently in the Lake Heart Island historical remnant, chasing after my father. Dongbua Shui nodded lightly. Lake Heart Island ruins. Its internal laws were completely isolated from the outside world, be it the laws of the divine realm, the material world, or the dark abyss. None of them could affect it. Therefore, he couldn't even reincarnate in the Lake Heart Island ruins, because his soul was unable to leave the Lake Heart Island ruins. My father told me that even if he reincarnates, the possibility of him regaining his memories after becoming a god is very low. He had lived long enough, so he risked his life to obtain this true god weapon. Jing Qiu said softly, my father told me where he hid the true god weapon. It is in the depths of the Lake Heart Island historical remnant. Although my father is still fleeing, he doesn't have the true god weapon on him. Even if the Nine-Yong Palace head and the others managed to catch up to my father, they wouldn't be able to obtain the true god weapon. Jing Qiu's voice was very soft, and her eyes were slightly red. Dongbua Shui sighed inwardly. This father-in-law was really going all out for his daughter. It was too easy for an expert to hide a true god weapon. Monarch Mo Shui could casually take out a few treasures that could isolate all probing. As long as the true god weapon's aura was isolated, it could isolate all probing. Within the enormous Lake Heart Island historical remnant, it was hidden somewhere. How could others discover it? True god weapon, No wonder the Nanyang Palace head and the others went crazy. Dongbua Shuang sighed. Amen. Jing Qiu nodded. I advised my father, but he wasn't willing to lower his head. However, within the Lake Hard Island historical remnant, my father is basically unable to reincarnate. Although the chances of reincarnation are low, there is still hope. Didn't I succeed? My father said that using his life that is about to collapse to exchange for a true God weapon, it is worth it. But Dongbua Shuang could completely understand Monarch Mo Shue's thoughts. True God weapon. What was a true God weapon? According to the cultivation realms, cultivators could be divided into transcendents, deities, world deities, and powerful existences. And powerful existences had another name, called true God. Only those who had transcended from the river of time, truly eternal gods, had the qualifications to be called true God. They had already truly grasped their own fate, transcending above the laws of heaven and earth. They had even begun to weave their own laws. Just like world deity weapons to world deities, true God weapons were also very important to powerful existences, because in the deity world and abyss, there were countless world deities. Naturally, there were those who were proficient in refining weapons, and there were even powerful existences. Thus, refining a world deity weapon was an extremely easy matter. But refining a true God weapon was extremely difficult. Those ordinary powerful existences could not even refine a true God weapon. At most, they could refine a Eden treasure that contained the complete laws of heaven and earth. A Eden treasure did not need to be used for battle. It only needed to open up a world within. Thus, it was the simplest true God weapon. Usually, what powerful existences fought for were those true God weapons that were used for battle. Those true God weapons, every single one of them, contained the complete laws of heaven and earth, and possessed the power to destroy the heavens and earth. But the difficulty in refining them was too great. Usually, only those at the level of Bloodblade and the Temporal Island Lord could barely refine them after spending a lot of effort. Thus, in the deity world, the number of true God weapons were very few. Among powerful existences, 8 or 9 out of 10 did not have a true God weapon. Something that could make powerful existences go crazy. Your father is not willing to give it up. That is very normal. Dongbua Shuang said, This is a simple and unadorned godly sword. Father knows that I am researching sword techniques, so he is even more unwilling to give it up. Jing Qiu said with a pained heart, but to give up the chance to reincarnate, just like that. Reincarnating was equivalent to a chance for a brand new life. Even though it was not guaranteed success, the moment one gave up, it would be a definite failure. He would really die. Father. Jing Qiu had a pained expression. Snow Eagle. If only I did not hide my identity and revealed it earlier, they would know that Dongbua Shui Ying's wife is the daughter of Monarch Mo Shui. Wouldn't they have some restraining fear and not be so ruthless? Don't think so much. Dongbua Shuang lightly hugged his wife. Even if you reveal your identity, those 5 would not care about me. Jing Qiu said, Oh right, my father has hidden all his treasures on an icy star. Let us go and retrieve them first. All right. He instructed his subordinates, telling them to report to him if there was anything. Following which, Dongbua Shui Ying brought Jing Qiu and left stealthily. They sat on the Starfield flying ship as they traveled. After leaving the territory of the Bloodshed God Palace, with a detailed star map provided by Monarch Mo Shui, the Starfield flying ship soon arrived at an icy star. After keeping the Starfield flying ship, Dongbua Shui Ying and the masked silver-haired woman landed on the surface of the icy star. Jing Qiu had to conceal her identity when moving outside. Otherwise, if others were to find out that Dongbua Shui Ying's wife was a stage 4 world deity, it would definitely attract a lot of attention. She might even be seen through by Forefather Golden Firmament. That would be a huge problem. Naturally, it was best to avoid trouble as much as possible. It's just up ahead. Jing Qiu surveyed her surroundings, then brought Dongbua Shuang forward. With a single step, she crossed thousands of kilometers. After just a few steps, They arrived at the deepest part of a gloomy canyon. Jing Xiu swept her gaze across, confirming the region. Chapter 536. Dongbo Shui Ying watched from the side. He could guess that the treasure hidden by his father-in-law was definitely something that blocked all probing. Ka! Jing Xiu extended her fair right hand and pointed forward. The gigantic layer of ice on the ground of the canyon began to tear apart and float upwards. Following that, the gigantic layer of ice that floated upwards began to rapidly disappear. The might of a stage 4 world deity, even a trace of it, was enough to destroy this entire planet. Not to mention the thousands of miles of ice floating in the air. The layer of ice turned into nothingness, leaving behind only a few ice crystal fragments. That's it. Jing Xiu waved her hand, and the ice crystal fragments landed on her palm. Let's go, Jing Xiu said. The two of them sat on the Starfield flying ship and returned. On the Starfield flying ship. This is Father's Eden treasure. Jing Xiu looked at the sand in her palm. Since Father sent his avatar to the Lake Heart Island, he naturally wouldn't bring the Eden treasure with him. Now that Father is in the Lake Heart Island, the ruins are filled with danger. Nanyang Palace Head and the other 4 enemies, as well as other experts, will probably join in as well. AI. Jing Xiu's eyes were filled with anxiety. Jing Xiu, why don't we go to the Lake Heart Island? Dongbo Shuang said. Jing Xiu raised her head and looked at Dongbo Shuang. Her eyes were filled with shock. Snow Eagle. Go to the Lake Heart Island? But that place is too dangerous. There's no need for you to take such a risk just because of my father. She did have the intention to help her father, but she wasn't willing to let Dongbo Shui take such a risk. Ha! Your husband's original body is in the material world. What's there to be afraid of? At most, this body will just die in the Lake Heart Island. Dongbo Shuang laughed. Moreover, I feel that I've reached a bottleneck in my cultivation. I'm not very proficient in the Tao of space-time, so it's quite taxing for me to cultivate. More importantly, it's been a long time since I've experienced danger. I can feel my willpower and fighting spirit fading away. I need to experience danger. A blade gets sharper the more it is sharpened. Living too comfortably will only corrode our fighting spirit. Dongbo Shuang said, You and I are both stage 4 world deities, so the danger level of ordinary ruins is slightly lower. The Lake Heart Island relic was fraught with danger. That was what made it interesting. Saving father-in-law is one aspect of this trip, and the other is to train ourselves. When Jing Xiu heard this, her heart was moved. If he wanted to temper himself, why did he need to go to the Lake Heart Island? That place was too dangerous. It had even surpassed the scope of training. Dongbo Shuang looked at his wife and said, I've decided to explore the ruins of Lake Heart Island. Are you coming with me? Jing Xiu nodded. Let's go together. Before we go, we should make some preparations as well. Dongbo Shuang revealed a smile. Yes, we have to be fully prepared. Jing Xiu was well aware of the level of danger. She did not even know if it was the right decision to bring the Snow Eagle along. However, it was clear that Dongbo Shuang had already made up his mind. Of course, Jing Xiu felt warm in her heart. It was a magnificent and continuous palace. Flower petals fluttered in the air. Within one of the halls, the white-robed beauty, 7th Mei Yu, felt somewhat uneasy. 7th Mei Yu had already become a world deity, but as a stage 1 world deity, she could not participate in the matters of her father. Father, what should we do? Father is being chased. 7th Mei Yu is anxious. Just a moment ago, her master, Monarch Mother Whirlpool, had issued an order, Disciple, your father, Monarch Mo Shui's true body, is being surrounded and killed. His clone hiding in the ruins of Lake Heart Island is also being chased. It's not good for me to interfere in his matters. From today onwards, you will stay here with me. Do not go out and cause trouble. Although the news of Monarch Mo Shui was rather secretive, it had already begun to spread amongst the stage 4 world deities and powerful existences. Even the furious Nanyang Palace Head and Withered Tree Old Mother had hinted to the stage 4 world deities to occupy the Mo Shui Empire. In just a few days, the news began to spread. Your Highness, the empire is currently on the verge of collapse, and the surrounding empires are beginning to infiltrate our Mo Shui Empire. I'm afraid that the empire is finished. Your Highness, the Third Highness World Deity, clone, self-detonated, and her palace has been occupied. Many world deities are beginning to betray the empire. Little sister, don't come back. Little sister, we're all fine, but the empire will definitely not be able to hold on. News came one after another, causing 7th Mayu to feel anxious and uneasy. Monarch Mo Shui also sent a message, but only once. Little 7, you can stay at Monarch Mother Whirlpool's place without worry. The monarch is more than enough to protect you. You don't have to worry about my matters. Not worried? How could she not be worried? I want to see Master. 7th Mayu wanted to beg her master. Junior apprentice sister, Master doesn't want to see you. She said that she won't interfere in this matter. The personal maid of Monarch Mother Whirlpool said. Of course, she wasn't willing to interfere. This matter implicated too many experts, especially the Nanyang Palace head. He was the beloved disciple of the Temporal Island Lord, and his strength was also very powerful. No matter how protective Monarch Mother Whirlpool was, it was impossible for her to fight against several powerful existences for a single disciple. Dongbua Shui Ying had also returned to the Supervisor Envoy's mansion and was preparing to head to the legendary Lake Heart Island historical remnant. What? Dongbua Shui Ying soon received news that the entire Mo Shui Empire was in a precarious situation and would most likely fall apart very soon. Snow Eagle, what should we do? Jing Qiu asked. My father's clone is still trapped in the faraway Lake Heart Island historical remnant, and the surrounding empires have already begun to infiltrate. For them to dare to do so, I'm afraid there's a powerful existence behind them. Dongbua Shui Ying nodded. To a stage 4 world deity, the size of their empire didn't make much of a difference. Moreover, Monarch Mo Shui hadn't truly died yet. How about this? I'll think of a way. Dongbua Shui Ying said. He then used his communication treasure to contact. Monarch Chen Yi, it's me, Dongbua Shui Ying. Your Highness Dongbua, how rare. I wonder if you're looking for me? I've also heard about Monarch Mo Shui's matter. During the Myriad Flower Feast, Monarch Mo Shui had once given me pointers in cultivation. I can't forget this kindness. Now that he's dead or alive, I'm powerless to do anything. However, I have to protect his Mo Shui empire. Oh, so Monarch Mo Shui and your Highness still have this kind of kindness. Dongbua Shui Ying quickly started contacting them one by one. Previously, there were many stage 4 world deities who came to visit him. Naturally, he had their contact details. He contacted more than 10 monarchs around the Mo Shui Empire, expressing that Monarch Mo Shui had done a great kindness to him, Dongbua Shui Ying, and that he had to protect his empire. Dongbua Shui Ying even asked them to help spread his message, letting everyone know, Mo Shui Empire. The graceful and luxurious 5th Highness, world deity He Shui, was currently standing in midair angrily, looking at a grandiose troop in the distance. The leader was a stage 3 world deity. You're also betraying my Mo Shui Empire? This beautiful world deity, He Shui, said angrily, General Chun, my father has treated you well. The monarch's true deity heart is already on the verge of collapsing, and he has also offended many almighties. 5th Highness, I have no choice. The long-bearded world deity said indifferently, 5th Highness, it's best if you don't resist. Otherwise, if I accidentally kill you, there's nothing I can do. Good, very good. World deity He Shui's heart was filled with grief and indignation. Her other avatar had already left long ago, but seeing the entire empire falling apart, seeing the huge empire that her father had managed being destroyed just like that, she also felt grief and indignation. Suddenly, the long-bearded world deity's expression changed. He frowned and waved his hand. Retreat. The troops under his command were somewhat at a loss. World deity He Shui was also somewhat at a loss. On the same day, The surrounding empires that had begun to infiltrate the entire Mo Shui Empire quickly stopped, and Mo Shui Empire quickly regained its stability. This caused some of the loyal world deities of Mo Shui Empire and the daughters of the monarch to be somewhat stunned. However, very quickly, they received news that the personal disciple of God Emperor, His Highness Dongbua Shuang, had already sent a message. During the Myriad Flower Feast, he had received guidance from monarch Mo Shui in his cultivation, and he wanted to protect Mo Shui Empire. That was Dongbua Shuang. To the stage 4 world deities, there was really no need to offend Dongbua Shui Ying for Mo Shui Empire. Even Withered Tree Old Mother, Prison Dragon Emperor, and Nanyang Palace Head knew about it, but they did not do anything. After all, Dongbua Shui Ying's potential was indeed terrifying. Once he became an almighty, he would most likely be at the level of the 3 ancestors. Moreover, Dongbua Shuang only wanted to protect an empire. It was not like he was protecting monarch Mo Shui himself. Naturally, no one was willing to smear Dongbua Shui Ying's face because of this. 7th Meiyu, who was under monarch Mother Whirlpool, also knew everything. Dongbua Shui Ying publicly sent a message to protect Mo Shui Empire. 7th Meiyu was startled. The youth who had participated in the Myriad Flower Feast with her back then had already reached such a stage. Just by sending a message, everyone had already given him face. Because of father's guidance? 7th Meiyu's heart was filled with gratitude. However, she did not know that Dongbua Shui Ying was actually her brother-in-law. Chapter 537. The Mo Shui Empire regained its tranquility. Shui Ying, who was located in the distant bloodshed God Palace territory, was also paying close attention to the development of the situation. Once he found out that the surrounding empires had stopped their actions, he specially sent a message to express his gratitude. Those monarchs were all very polite, saying, "If we had known earlier about the relationship between monarch Mo Shui and your highness, we would not have acted." All of them were very polite. Dongbua Shui Ying did not blame them for their actions. After all, the world of cultivators was cruel, and if they did not have a good relationship, who would help Mo Shui? In fact, under the deterrence of existences like the Nanyang Emperor and Withered Tree Old Mother, ordinary stage 4 world deities would not dare to act. That was because Shui Ying was still young, and at the time when he was showing off his talent. When he acted, everyone would give him some face. But that was only a small matter. If it involved a true opportunity, such as transcending the river of time and gaining eternity, or a treasure like a true god weapon, then it did not matter whose face it was. Ooh, a Starfield flying ship left the Calm Sea Prefecture's eastern region city and began its journey. On the deck of the flying ship, Dongbua Shui Ying and the masked Jing Xiao were currently looking at the colorful passageway around them. Snow Eagle, the Lake Hard Island ruins are said to have existed since the birth of the deity world, Jing Xiao said. You and I have collected a lot of information, and my father has also given me a lot of information. But no matter how much information you read, it is still different from experiencing it yourself. Most people on the Lake Hard Island have the power to fight against powerful existences, and only then are they qualified to explore it. Peak stage 4 world deities like us will still find it very difficult to explore it. There are some stage 4 world deities who enter, but they are prepared to lose their avatars. Jing Xiao, don't underestimate yourself. Our combat power is still quite high. Dongbua Shui Ying grinned. He had cultivated the 3rd boundary of the 3rd volume of the Luminous Sun, greatly increasing his combat power. Furthermore, he had created 3 secret skills over the years. He was likely even stronger than Monarch Songyang. His wife's strength was on par with his. Strictly speaking, she could still suppress him in a fight. Perhaps when compared to eldest senior brother Hui Ming, both of them were slightly inferior. However, among the universe deities of the 4th heaven, he was still quite good. He was much stronger than those newly advanced universe deities of the 4th heaven. Our goal this time isn't to enter the Lake Heart Island ruins to search for treasures. Dongbua Shui Ying said, if there are any dangerous places, we'll just try our best to hide. This time, Our goal is to save your father and bring back the true God weapon. Jing Qiu nodded lightly. If you feel that it's dangerous, then try to avoid it. If one's goal was to find treasures, the more special a place was, the more one would want to explore it. Only special places would contain treasures. The purpose of this couple was different from the majority of stage 4 world deities. The speed of the starfield flying ship was extremely fast. Dongbua Shui Ying and his wife chatted for a while before the flying ship left the bloodshed God Palace territory and reached the distant Myriad God Palace territory. The Lake Heart Island relic was located at the edge of the Pantheon Temple's territory. We're here. The space-time tunnel opened up ahead, and the starfield flying ship flew out from it. Dongbua Shui Ying and his wife looked ahead. The flying ship's surroundings had been concealed by them, and there were also treasures that could isolate them from detection. Other experts who were far away would not be able to discover the space-time undulations here. Lake Heart Island. Dongbua Shui Ying and Jing Qiu looked ahead. In the distant starry sky, there was an incomparably huge, silvery white sphere of water. According to the intelligence reports, this enormous silvery white sphere of water had a diameter of 1.89 trillion kilometers. Even though it was called Lake Heart Island, in reality, this island was located at the very center of the entire sphere. It has existed since the birth of the deity world. Even my teacher and the others are unable to grasp it. Dongbua Shui sighed. I wonder where it came from. His Majesty, God Emperor, and the others should know about it. It's just that they won't tell us about it. Jing Qiu said, perhaps in the eyes of His Majesty, God Emperor, we are still too weak. Since they won't tell us, we'll go in and take a look ourselves. Dongbua Shui laughed. So. After keeping the starfield flying ship, the husband and wife immediately tore through the void at high speed. With every step they took, they easily traversed a great distance. Hua. At the outermost perimeter of the sphere, countless waves could be seen rolling about. Enter. Dongbua Shui Ying and Jing Qiu exchanged a glance, then charged in without any hesitation. The surface of their bodies was surging with energy. The surface of Shui Ying's body was that of the purest and most unyielding luminous sun force, while the surface of his wife Jing Qiu's body was that of a flowing violet light. This was a world deity-ranked secret technique she had cultivated after becoming a stage 4 world deity, the Violet Sunrise. Firstly, it was so that she could conceal her identity and could no longer use her previous world deity-ranked secret techniques. Secondly, after becoming a stage 4 world deity, she would be able to comprehend more secret techniques by analogy. This was a secret technique Jing Qiu had chosen within Crimson Rock Mountain to complement her own sword techniques. So cold. After entering the interior of the enormous island, Dongbua Shui Ying could feel the surrounding water surging. The coldness began to seep in, causing Dongbua Shui Ying to rely on his luminous sun force to isolate himself from the cold. This silvery white water was incomparably heavy. Every single drop of water was extremely heavy. It was much heavier than an ordinary star. Only stage 4 world deities, who possessed the power to destroy the heavens and extinguish the earth, could fly within it with relative ease. The laws here are really strange, Jing Qiu said. Even I can't reach the critical God domain. My violet sunrise is being suppressed too much, and I can only extend it to a distance of 5 kilometers. Snow Eagle, what about you? Me? It's still spreading. Dongbua Shui said. His luminous sun force was indeed still spreading. Dongbua Shui Ying was a stage 3 world deity. How could he fight against a stage 4 world deity? It was all because of his luminous sun force. Having reached the 3rd transition of the 3rd volume, his luminous sun force was already extremely ferocious. Every single strand of his luminous sun force was incomparably sharp, permeating through the water. However, it was constantly being weakened by the impact of the water. After permeating through a distance of 2 million kilometers, it was finally unable to proceed any further. 2 million kilometers. Dongbua Shui laughed. So far, Jing Qiu was overjoyed. The water of the island wasn't turbid, but they could only see a little over 1,000 kilometers with their naked eyes. The scouting treasures we brought are temporarily useless. They can only see the surrounding 50,000 kilometers. Your luminous sun force is truly formidable. I wonder how powerful it would be if you could reach the fourth transition of the third volume. At that time, my strength should be comparable to senior apprentice brother Hui Ming. Donghua Shuiying said. However, I'm still bitterly comprehending the fourth transition. My true body is also comprehending it in Crimson Rock Mountain, but I'm still far from it. An absolute art is truly formidable. Jing Qiu couldn't help but sigh. An absolute art that could allow a stage 3 world deity to possess the strength of a powerful existence. It was no wonder that even powerful existences coveted it. It was a pity that a truly complete absolute art was simply too rare. Almost all of them were in the hands of God Emperor, Temporal Island Lord, and the others. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master also had an absolute art he could impart to them. The two of them were relatively relaxed as they traversed through the majestic water flow. Donghua Shuiying's mind was constantly recalling the information he had read about the Lake Hard Island. The danger level of the vast water flow in the outermost region of the island was relatively low, but there were still several dangers that could easily kill powerful existences or even the three ancestors. Furthermore, the inner regions of the island were filled with terrifying dangers that even God Emperor and the others could only look on in awe. The luminous sun force permeated the surrounding 2 million kilometers, probing for danger. Donghua Shuiying and Jing Qiu carefully flew forward. Donghua Shuiying suddenly frowned. He could feel a majestic power that seemed to be able to suppress everything coming into contact with his luminous sun force. This power seemed to be very smooth, yet it was able to suppress his luminous sun force in an upright manner. "1 million miles, 900,000 miles, 800,000 miles, Snow Eagle. I didn't think we'd run into such trouble as soon as we entered," Jing Qiu transmitted. "There are meteors." Donghua Shuiying was overjoyed. Lake Hard Island. There were hundreds of millions of meteorites orbiting around the central island. These meteorites were all inside the water current. Of course, these weren't ordinary meteorites from the starry skies. The hardness of these meteorites was beyond imagination. Even now, there was no way to destroy them. Hundreds of millions of meteorites formed an extremely mysterious array formation, protecting the island in the center of the lake. The meteorite at the center of the lake was the safest place for cultivators who needed to pass through the water. Quick, 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 it's on the left." Donghua Shuiying and his wife rushed in that direction with all their might. Fortunately, the direction of the undercurrent wasn't in the same direction as the meteorites. Donghua Shuiying and the rest were flying with all their might. "I see it." The two of them saw a gigantic meteorite. The meteorite at the center of the lake was only 5,000 miles in diameter. It was still relatively small, with hundreds of millions of meteorites the same size. The meteorite itself was pitch black, and there were many huge ravine-veined patterns on its surface. These ravine patterns seemed like a mysterious and ancient array formation. However, it was only a small part of the array, formed by hundreds of millions of meteorites. Donghua Shuiying couldn't understand these arrays at all. The ravine patterns were like a canyon. Donghua Shuiying and his wife charged towards one of the closest ravine patterns on the surface of the meteorite. The ravine patterns were at least 5 kilometers deep. Just as the two of them entered the ravine and heaved a sigh of relief, they felt a majestic might sweeping towards them. Long, the huge undercurrent swept over. The current was much faster and more ferocious, crushing everything in its path as it ruthlessly swept against the meteorite. However, the meteorite was indestructible, and it completely ignored the undercurrent. As the undercurrent swept across the surface of the meteorite, Although there were some shock waves within the ravine patterns, they were much weaker. Hoo hoo hoo. Dongbua Shui Ying and his wife grabbed onto the cliff beside them. When some of the weaker shock waves swept across the canyon, the shock waves caused Dongbua Shui Ying and his wife to lose their balance. But very quickly, the shock waves receded. Good fella. Dongbua Shui Ying and his wife heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, we were close to a meteorite at the center of the lake. Dongbua Shui sighed. Otherwise, if we were swept along by the undercurrent, we would have no choice but to move forward. Although there aren't many dangers in the undercurrent, we would still be dragged forward by it. As long as we move forward, we wouldn't be able to escape from it. As time passes, we might still meet with danger and lose our lives. Snow Eagle look. Jing Qiu pointed downwards. Amen? Dongbua Shui looked over as well. This canyon was over 5 kilometers deep and over 1,000 kilometers long. In the depths of the canyon, one could faintly see a mansion. Mansion? Dongbua Shui was shocked. This was definitely a mansion. The mansion of a cultivator. Snow Eagle, let's go take a look. Jing Qiu said. All right, I wonder if it's a mansion built recently or a mansion built a long time ago. Dongbua Shui transmitted over as he flew over with his wife. At the same time, his luminous sun force spread out rapidly, enveloping the entire region. There are over 100 million meteorites at the center of the lake. Moreover, they're scattered across the vast undercurrent. It's already a coincidence that they were able to land on this particular meteorite. It's unlikely that they were cultivators from the same era. Jing Qiu said, unless they're powerful existences with eternal life. Soon, Shui Ying and his wife arrived at the main entrance of the mansion. The mansion was not considered big, but it was built quite stably. The mansion door was already half open. Most likely, it had been opened by the shock waves from the undercurrents that had been surging over the years. It's probably been a long time since a cultivator has been here. Jing Qiu deduced after taking a look. It's already somewhat dilapidated. Dongbua Shui walked in. With a glance, he could see that some parts of the mansion were already damaged. The courtyard of the mansion wasn't big. Soon, they entered the hall. The hall was maintained by arrays that isolated the undercurrent. It was completely empty inside. How desolate, Dongbua Shui said. At the same time, they walked through the back door of the hall. There was also a winding corridor inside. Soon, they arrived at another hall. This hall was clearly more private. From the decorations, it should be a place for ordinary cultivation. Quick, look at the wall. Jing Qiu, who was walking in front, shouted. Dongbua Shui walked over. There were indeed some words on the wall of the hall. Furthermore, there were 3 types of words written in different shades. It seemed like they were left behind by 3 different people. The leftmost one wrote, Jinyu was trapped in the 4th stage of the heavenly stage. I built a mansion here to cultivate bitterly. I also sent my avatar into the ruins of the lake to search for opportunities. Jing Qiu said as she read, Snow Eagle. I've never heard of this stage for world deity Jinyu. I've never heard of him either. Dongbua Shui said. Then he probably didn't become a powerful existence. Jing Qiu shook her head. Dongbua Shui said, it's not easy to become a powerful existence. Although there were only so many stage 4 world deities in the deity world at the moment, there were far too many stage 4 world deities since the birth of the deity world until now. Almost all of them were stuck at the final step, unable to transcend. The first owner of this mansion was also someone who failed to transcend. If he had transcended, even if he had died as a powerful existence, his fame would have spread far and wide. Dongbua Shui and the others would definitely know of him. Chapter 539. After reading the words left behind by the leftmost world deity Jinyu, he did not gain anything. Shui looked at the words written in the middle. I, Chen Yutian, am also trapped in the stage 4 world deity realm, just like Brother Jinyu. The Lake Hard Island historical remains is one of the best historical remains in the entire deity world. There must be an opportunity that can help me break through. Reading this, Dongbua Shui-ing looked at Jing Xiao, who replied softly, I've never heard of it. I've never heard of it either, and I'm afraid that it has failed. Dongbua Shui-ing said, before continuing to look at the words, I have yet to take that final step in my cultivation, but my true deity heart is already unstable and is on the brink of collapse. I have no regrets in my life, and at least I have lived a glorious life for 10 billion years, and my heart is already satisfied. I have stayed in this mansion for a long time and have discovered a secret. I guess that this secret is only known by a small number of powerful existences in the deity world, but none of them spread it. Since I do not have long to live, I will record this secret here and leave it for the fated one. The secret is that there are hundreds of millions of meteorites floating around the Lake Heart Island, and all of them are indestructible. Even His Majesty God Emperor and the others cannot do anything to them. The reason why these meteorites are so tough is because they are made up of Calamity Stone essence. Dongbua Shui-ing was speechless. Calamity Stone essence? This was a rare material that was not inferior to Demon Bone Ash. It was said that Calamity Stone essence could only be born in places that had experienced great calamities. Usually, it would be in the form of powder, and each time it was born, it would be extremely rare. However, Calamity Stone essence could be said to be indestructible and was an excellent material to be mixed into equipment. The price of 500 grams of Calamity Stone essence was around 60 million deity crystals. It was something that could only be found by chance. These meteorites are all made up of Calamity Stone essence. This Lake Heart Island is made up of hundreds of millions of these meteorites, and they form a huge formation. Dongbua Shui-ing could not believe it. Dongbua Shui-ing continued to read the description. Although it's indestructible, as the saying goes, dripping water can pierce through stone. The mighty currents around the island have been crashing down for countless years, and the undercurrents kept crashing down. 1 year, 10 years, 100 years, 100 million years, a billion years, a billion years, 10 billion years. Even the sturdiest material would be damaged. The outermost layer of the meteorite on the island would have some cracks after a long time of crashing. As more and more cracks accumulated, the surface would break and fall off. Any random piece that fell off would probably weigh 3 to 5 caddies, or even 10 to 20 caddies. This is a huge treasure. Moreover, according to my judgment, this meteorite on the island wasn't formed naturally. Instead, the creator of the Lake Heart Island used an unimaginable method to lay down a terrifying array formation. This array formation was formed by absorbing the energy of heaven and earth, completely creating the Calamity Stone essence out of thin air. This method is simply unimaginable. The meteorite on the Lake Heart Island will forever be nurtured by the energy of heaven and earth. Even if it suffers some damage, it will still grow back. It's precisely because of the existence of the formation. Even since the birth of the God Realm, the ruins of the Lake Heart Island are still intact. After reading these descriptions, Dongbua Shui-ing was also shocked. A Calamity Stone spirit could be born from a formation? Moreover, there were more than 100 million meteorites that were tens of thousands of kilometers long. We'll have to take a look later. Jing Xiao said as she looked at the last words left behind. She was startled and said, Snow Eagle, look, this is Emperor Heavencloud. Dongbua Shui-ing also looked over. Emperor Heavencloud was also a stage 4-world deity. However, he was much more famous. He was originally a transcendent with a grade 1 true meaning from the material world. In the beginning, he was taken in as a personal disciple by an ordinary almighty being. However, he had a fortuitous encounter and obtained a mysterious ultimate art. He relied on it to slaughter and battle to dominate the world. He was chosen by the myriad God Palace Master, who personally appeared and allowed Emperor Heavencloud to take him as his master for the second time. He received careful guidance. Following that, Emperor Heavencloud soared to the sky. With 2 absolute arts complementing each other, his combat power was extremely high. Having a battle record of killing a powerful existence while being a stage 4-world deity was simply inconceivable. Even though he was someone from 200 billion years ago, he was still extremely famous. Both Dongbo Ying and Jing Xiu knew of him. However, Emperor Heavencloud seemed to have spent his entire life fighting and killing. He had a beloved woman who was also a stage 4 world deity. However, she died at the hands of one of the 3 ancestors of the Bloodshed God Palace, the Overlord of Destruction. Emperor Heavencloud was filled with hatred. Because he was also a lord of a material world, he was fearless and fought with the Overlord of Destruction. The battle was extremely bitter. His avatars died many times. However, each time they were reborn from the material world and killed their way out. He killed too many, and his combat power grew stronger and stronger. When he was a stage 4 world deity, his combat power was already close to that of the 3 ancestors. Of course, he was not comparable to them. In history, there was only one stage 4 world deity who could reach the combat power of the 3 ancestors, the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master. The battle between Emperor Heavencloud and the Overlord of Destruction was too fierce. Bloodblade came forward to mediate, but it was useless. Emperor Heavencloud did not give face to anyone, and the Myriad God Palace Master also defended his disciple. During that period of time, he had a huge impact on the entire deity world. Many powerful existences were afraid of him and were not willing to fight with this madman. However, he failed to break through to become a powerful existence, and from then on, there was no news of him. Who would have thought that a stage 4 world deity who battled heaven and earth, and even fought with the Overlord of Destruction for so long, would stay here for so long? Dongbo Ying looked at the words on the wall. I Heavencloud, I abhor evil. If I could not stand it, I would fight and kill. I was originally very happy. Later on, I met the love of my life, Qiulan. However, an old thief destroyed everything. I swore that I would kill an old thief, even if he was the master of God Emperor. Ha ha! An old thief was afraid and actually begged his disciple, God Emperor, so that God Emperor would give him a karma spark to plot against me. Since then, the endless karma has been transferred to me. But so what if the karma is huge? I believe that my Tao heart can break through all obstacles. I concentrated on cultivating in this meteorite mansion and spied on the core of the formation inside this meteorite. With the help of the meteorite's formation core, I could feel the vast formation of the entire island. I have comprehended a lot from it for many years. I believe that when my realm is high enough, when my Tao heart is strong enough, I will eventually break through the shackles of karma and become a powerful existence. With this message, I vowed to fight to the death. Now, although my true deity heart is on the verge of collapse, the closer I am to the final moment, the more I feel that it is time to break free. If I do not succeed, I will die. I must succeed. I will definitely succeed. I have also built a pavilion at the core of the formation inside the meteorite. Junior should be able to find it. After finishing the words, Dongbo Ying and Yu Jingqiu looked at each other. I really did not expect that one of the 3 ancestors, the master of His Majesty God Emperor, the Overlord of Destruction, would use the legendary karma spark to plot against Emperor Heavenly Cloud. Yu Jingqiu sighed. With such an identity, no one would dare to wait for Emperor Heavenly Cloud to become a powerful existence. Instead, it is a plot. However, such news has never been spread in the divine world. Dongbo Ying could feel the domineering aura of the words. He could feel that the dazzling figure from 200 billion years ago could still have such a firm Tao heart, even when his true deity heart was about to collapse. It was a pity that he was destroyed. Otherwise, he would have a bright future if he became a powerful existence. The Overlord of Destruction is my master's master after all, Dongbo Ying said. Emperor Heavenly Cloud was dazzling when he was alive, but he disappeared after his death. The reason why this news has not been spread is probably because my master and the Myriad God Palace Master had some kind of negotiation. Sigh, what a pity. Dongbo Ying looked at it and shook his head. Logically speaking, the Overlord of Destruction was on his side, but he couldn't help but lean towards Emperor Heavenly Cloud's side. Although Emperor Heavenly Cloud's Tao heart was unshakable, and he had to fight until the last moment, Dongbua Shui Ying and the others knew very well that Emperor Heavenly Cloud had failed in the end. Chapter 540. Shui Ying and his wife finished looking through the entire mansion. They did not discover anything else, so they left the mansion. Wah! Standing at the entrance of the residence, at the bottom of the canyon, Dongbua Shui Ying's body suddenly emitted a large amount of light. This was his luminous sun force. A large amount of luminous sun force spread out, rapidly enveloping the entire meteorite that had a diameter of 10,000 miles. How is it? Jing Qiu asked. There are many cracks on the surface of the meteorite, but most of them are inconspicuous. There are a total of 8 spots which are more conspicuous. Dongbua Shuiying laughed. Let's go. Let's see if we can peel off the calamity stone essence from these 8 spots. They took a step forward. The speed of the husband and wife was extremely fast. In just a few steps, they arrived at a spot on the surface of the meteorite. There, the surface of the meteorite seemed to have been completely cracked, leaving only traces of it behind. This is the spot with the largest crack. It has almost completely fallen off. Dongbua Shuiying laughed. It has been a long time since a cultivator has come to this meteorite. That's why we discovered it. Let me try first, Jing Qiu said. She stretched out her hand and pointed. Qiu, rays of sword light shot out one after another. They were precisely Jing Qiu's blood-refined deity weapon. These thin swords brought with them a terrifying might as they struck the crucial spots on the surface of the meteorite. At the level of Dongbua, Shui Ying, and Jing Qiu, their control over their strength had reached an extremely high level. A miraculous object, like the Calamity Stone essence, was surrounded by water. If one were to use pure brute force, one would only be able to unleash a tenth of one's full strength. Only by matching one's realm with one's strength would one be able to unleash such a miraculous effect. Dang, dang, dang. The sounds of collisions rang out. This piece of meteorite had clearly fallen off, with only a few traces remaining. Yet, it was still trembling without stopping. Dongbua, Shui Ying, and the others weren't trying to destroy the Calamity Stone essence. They were merely trying to take advantage of the cracks. Despite being a stage 4 world deity, Jing Qiu's blood-refined deity weapon was still unable to break it apart. I don't believe it. Let me try again. Jing Qiu willed the 9 swords to form a sword array in the air. Haha, take it slow. Dongbua Shuiying smiled as he watched from the side. His wife was quite competitive. Boom! The 9 thin swords suddenly burst out and turned into a dazzling sword light. The sword light flashed, leaving behind an arc trajectory, and suddenly hit the stone. The stone shook again, and finally, the threads connecting it to the bottom completely fell off. Success! Dongbua Shuiying praised. Jing Qiu extended her hand, and the Calamity Stone essence fell into her palm. She felt it for a moment, then threw it to Dongbua Shuiying. You keep it. I'll keep it. Dongbua Shuiying was surprised. This is my biggest spoil of war. I'll give it to you as a gift. Jing Qiu smiled. Dongbua Shuiying took the Calamity Stone essence and felt it for a moment. He nodded. It's about 6 kilograms. This is indeed your biggest spoil of war. Just this stone alone was worth 7 to 800 million deity crystals. It was comparable to the wealth of a relatively young stage 4 world deity. Of course, some of the more powerful stage 3 world deities who had cultivated for a long time would be able to save up this much. Even a greedy person like the venomous Ying world deity would not be so greedy. Let's go. Let's go to the next one. Jing Qiu was relatively happy. The feeling of obtaining a treasure without restraint was truly refreshing. The two of them worked together, yet they were only able to peel off 2 stones. The second one had to be done by the combined efforts of Dongbua Shuiying and his wife. The remaining 6 places had obvious cracks, but they were unable to do so no matter what they did. Even so, these 2 stones weighed more than 10 kilograms. The ruins of Lake Heart Island are indeed different. We haven't even landed on the island, yet we've already obtained such a precious treasure, Jing Qiu said. We're also lucky that a senior left behind a residence on this meteorite to inform us of this. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to discover this secret, Dongbua Shui said. As for this secret, very few people knew about it. After all, there were very few who dared to enter the ruins of Lake Heart Island. Coincidentally, it was even more difficult to land on the meteorite. After all, the silvery white ball of water on the island had a diameter of more than 8 trillion kilometers. Even 100 million meteorites would be inconspicuous within it. Regarding this, Dongbua Shuiying had never thought of publicizing it. He was not that foolish. Everything in the world had its own rules. If one wanted to obtain something, they had to pay the corresponding price. Who? The two walked on the surface of the meteorite, crossing many large canyons. In the depths, Dongbua Shuiying's luminous sun force spread out, allowing him to discover the pavilion left behind by Emperor Heavencloud and his corpse. In the depths of one of the canyons, there was a huge circular gap in the array diagram. Let's go in. Dongbua Shuiying and his wife immediately turned into a stream of light and entered the gap. They followed the huge gap of the array diagram and dived for more than 3,000 kilometers before entering a huge hole. This huge hole was at least 1,000 kilometers wide. In the center of the hole, there was a pavilion. In the pavilion, there was a figure sitting cross-legged. He was looking up at a light ball floating in front of him. The light ball was composed of silver and red. It was incomparably gorgeous and formed an incomparably mysterious light ball array diagram. This light ball array diagram had more than 100 million nodes, and countless nodes were constantly rotating. Emperor Heavencloud, Dongbua Shuiying, and Jing Qiu walked over. The person sitting cross-legged was Emperor Heavencloud. It was just his corpse. Emperor Heavencloud was a very majestic and tall man. Even after his death, his majestic body exuded an endless domineering aura. His will had already merged with his body. Even though he had died for more than 200 billion years, this terrifying will still did not dissipate. This kind of will made Dongbua Shuiying and the others secretly change their expressions. When Dongbua Shuiying approached and saw Emperor Heavencloud's face, he couldn't help but be stunned. How could he? Even when he died, he did not close his eyes and did not lower his head. Dongbua Shuiying couldn't believe the scene in front of him. Emperor Heavencloud, who was sitting cross-legged, raised his head and looked at the array diagram in front of him. His eyebrows were very thick, and his eyes were full of spirit and a terrifying desire. One must know that when he died, his true deity heart had already collapsed. Even when his true deity heart collapsed, he still stared at the array diagram and was still fighting for the last glimmer of hope. Even when he died, he did not give up. Dongbua Shuiying silently looked at him. A peerless genius. Even when his true deity heart collapsed, he still stared at the array diagram with his head held high. He did not even close his eyes. The strong desire in his eyes could be clearly felt. Such willpower, such a Tao heart. Dongbua Shuiying silently said. After dying for 200 billion years, his willpower still existed in this space. This was the first person that Dongbua Shuiying had seen in his life. He had seen many stage 4-world gods, but none of them could shock him like this. He had seen Big Senior Brother Huiming, Qihua Laozu, and many other great existences. But he had to admit that the willpower of those great existences was not as strong as this. Only the Abyss Master, His Majesty God Emperor, and the 3 ancestors at the Myriad Flower Feast were people that he could not see through. But normal great existences, Dongbua Shuiying felt that their willpower and Tao heart were definitely not as good as this person in front of him. After all, he was the one who beat up the Lord of Destruction until he was afraid of him. He even went to beg God Emperor for treasures and plotted against Emperor Heavencloud. Willpower, willpower, Dongbua Shuiying silently said. He also sat cross-legged on the side and closed his eyes. Snow Eagle, Jing Qiu was also shocked by the terrifying willpower released by Emperor Heavencloud's corpse, but she suddenly found her husband sitting cross-legged and closed his eyes in cultivation. She could not help but be puzzled, but she did not dare to disturb him. Dongbua Shuiying sat with his eyes closed. He finally understood. Ever since he became a disciple of his master, God Emperor, he had been dazzling, but this time he took the initiative to bring his wife to the Lake Heart Island ruins. It was because he felt that living a comfortable life was eroding his willpower. Previously, he only had this feeling. But now that he saw Emperor Heavencloud's corpse, he died with his head held high and his eyes wide open. Dongbua Shuiying was touched. He understood the gap between him and Emperor Heavencloud. Tao heart, that resolute willpower. Ever since I was young, for my brother, for my parents, for Xia people, for my wife, I have moved forward without looking back, even becoming a grade 1 true meaning transcendent. But what happened after that? After becoming a disciple of my master, although my cultivation speed was fast, it was also because of the extremity path, chaotic whole path, and world path. These were the 3 paths I liked when I was a transcendent. Naturally, it was done in one go, but in reality, my desire to pursue the Tao is not that strong anymore. Now, I lack the sharpness of a blade. I lack such a strong Tao heart. Compared to Emperor Heavencloud, I am still far behind. Chapter 541. Jing Qiu watched from the side. Dongbua Shuiying sat cross-legged for half an hour, and then he slowly opened his eyes. His gaze was much sharper than before. "Snow Eagle, what's wrong?" Jing Qiu asked. Dongbua Shuiying got up and looked at Imperial Emperor Heavenly Cloud's corpse, who was staring at the array diagram even after his death, and said, "The heart is like a mirror. Cultivating the heart is to make this mirror more clear, and you need to clean it often to remind yourself. Otherwise, if it falls on the ground, it will gradually become dark." Imperial Emperor Heavenly Cloud's Tao heart is so strong, and it made me understand that my Tao heart is not strong enough. Understanding is one thing, but cultivating the heart must rely on one step at a time to prove my Tao heart. Dongbua Shuiying said. Jing Qiu felt the sharpness in Dongbua Shuiying's eyes, and she couldn't help but be shocked. Her Tao heart was also very firm, but it was not like Dongbua Shuiying and Imperial Emperor Heavenly Cloud's sharpness and domineeringness. My will is not as strong as him now, but it is not necessarily the case in the future. After all, he has experienced the tempering of 10 billion years. Dongbua Shuiying smiled, and then walked forward to the pavilion and carefully looked at the light ball floating in the air. The light ball was formed by 2 colors, white and red, and the countless light rays of the 2 colors formed a spherical array diagram, and the countless intersecting nodes were changing. Dongbua Shuiying carefully looked around and said, "Jing Qiu, this array diagram appeared. It should be activated by Imperial Emperor Heavenly Cloud's array." "Yes," Jing Qiu said. "I also looked at it for a while, and it is unfathomable." And Dongbua Shuiying also carefully looked at the array diagram. Buzz, as soon as his consciousness seeped into it, he felt himself rapidly shrinking, becoming a tiny dot within the huge formation. He looked around and saw stars spinning in the distance. Over 100 million stars were constantly changing. Although each star seemed to be moving very slowly, there was a special sense of beauty to it. Hundreds of millions of stars moved in different directions, creating a sense of vastness. He felt as though he was facing the entire material world, as though there were countless mortal worlds revolving within the material world. In fact, this array felt even more domineering than the physical world. It was a domineering frontal suppression. It was as if no one could shake this formation. The vast laws of the material realm felt that if it was an ordinary person, then this formation would be like a soldier wearing armor and wielding a weapon. Dongbua Shuiying looked at the revolving stars, and suddenly his heart thumped. He could vaguely sense a terrifying destructive intent. Even the destructive aura he sensed from his master's bloodblade couldn't compare to this formation. The hundreds of millions of slowly moving stars contained an incomparably terrifying killing intent, and it was brewing. Once it erupted, the heavens and earth would shatter. One of Dongbua Shui Ying's 3 great secret skills was none other than the secret skill destruction. At this moment, he could not help but be immersed in it. As he was immersed in it, he lost track of time. Days passed one after another. Jing Xiu was also immersed in the diagram, occasionally waking up. As a stage 4 world deity, she was able to see much more of the array, and she was also shocked. No wonder Emperor Heavencloud chose to comprehend this diagram before his death, and it was his final struggle. The more I look at this formation, the more I feel that it is inconceivable. More than a month had passed since the two of them started looking at it. Snow Eagle, Snow Eagle. A voice that seemed to be very far away could be heard. Pong. Dongbua Shui Ying suddenly woke up, and only then did he feel an intense pain in his body. Jing Xiu, who was beside him, retracted her palm and asked anxiously, "What's wrong?" Dongbua Shui Ying clutched his head. He felt a splitting headache, and there was even blood flowing out his nose. Not only was his avatar in pain, even his main body in the Xia people's world, Crimson Rock Mountain, had a nosebleed. But at the same time, the artifact spirit of Crimson Rock Mountain had awakened Dongbua Shui Ying. I discovered the great destruction aspect of this formation, and I have been trying to comprehend it. The more I comprehend, the more I feel. Unknowingly, my true deity heart was injured by the terrifying killing intent of the formation, and the injury is reflected on my body. Dongbua Shui Ying shook his head. It's not just this avatar. Even my main body in the Xia people's world was injured. This killing intent is too terrifying, and I was injured by comprehending it. Jing Xiu was also shocked. Injuring the deity heart and body? Even the main body in the material world was injured? Powerful existences can kill enemies far away with a thought, and they rely on karma. But this formation didn't intentionally cause any karmic attacks, and yet it was still able to injure your main body. It's not karma. It's just that both my avatar and main body were trying to comprehend the formation, and they were both injured. The formation is too powerful, and I feel that it's not any weaker than the laws of the material world. Dongbua Shui Ying shook his head. I can't comprehend it anymore. My comprehension of the formation's destruction aspect has reached my limit. If I continue to comprehend it, it will only take my life. I'm fine, Jing Xiu said. Maybe I'm not comprehending the destruction aspect. I'm going to leave a world's deity avatar here to comprehend it. All right, I don't need to comprehend it anymore. Let's get ready to go to the lake island, Dongbua Shui Ying said. Then Dongbua Shui Ying looked at the corpse of Imperial Emperor Heavenly Cloud, who was sitting cross-legged next to him. With a wave of his hand, countless soil and stones appeared next to him. An invisible force wrapped around Imperial Emperor Heavenly Cloud's corpse and moved it to the side. Countless soil and stones covered the corpse, forming a graveyard. Imperial Emperor Heavenly Cloud, rest in peace, Dongbua Shui Ying said softly. Dongbua Shui Ying left the meteorite with his wife. He used his luminous sun force to explore the endless stream of water and began to fly forward at high speed. This huge silver stream of water was more than 18 trillion kilometers in diameter. It was too huge. They couldn't travel through space in this stream of water, so they could only fly continuously. Along the way, the husband and wife experienced many hardships. They had encountered purple swordfish and other special creatures in the stream of water. These creatures had existed since the birth of the lake island, and they were chased crazily. They even deliberately created a deity avatar to confuse the enemy. They also encountered undercurrents many times. Later on, they became more and more experienced. They could judge the undercurrent's approach by the speed of the flow of water. They could even judge the approach of some terrifying creatures. It took a total of 11 years. That's right. The huge silver water ball flew in from the surface of the island. After passing through the endless stream of water, Dongbua Shui Ying and the others spent more than 11 years before they finally began to approach the core of the island. Boom! They passed through an invisible barrier. The water flow was isolated. The black-robed youth and the silver-haired white-robed woman looked at the huge island in shock. The island was isolated from the water flow, and the entire island was silver-white in color. It was covered in countless layers of frost, and the cold air caused Dongbua Shui Ying and his wife to shiver uncontrollably. The lake island was naturally far smaller than the silver water ball. However, according to the intelligence reports, it was still more than 1,000,000,000,000 kilometers wide. Jing Xiu, it really wasn't easy. We've finally arrived at this lake island. Dongbua Shui Ying shook his head. On the way through the water layer, I thought I was going to lose my life time and time again. Jing Xiu nodded as well. This journey had been too difficult. We've come at the right time. Right now, the entire lake island is covered in frost. It's much safer here. Jing Xiu said, we have to hurry and find my father. We have to find that true god weapon. Right? We can't take the path that my father and the others usually take. Withered Tree Old Mother, Nanyang Palace Head, and the others are watching us. We have to avoid them as much as possible. You decide, Dongbua Shuang said. I hope that we can save my father before the lake island turns hot. Jing Xiu said. The temperature of the lake island was constantly changing. It would gradually become extremely cold, and when it reached an extreme, it would slowly turn hot and eventually reach extreme heat. Extreme cold and extreme heat were two extremes. Those cultivators who came to enter the lake hard island, even powerful existences, weren't willing to enter under the extreme heat, because at that time, the danger level of the lake island would rapidly increase. Chapter 542. Dongbua Shui Ying and Jing Xiu were currently flying at high speed above the ice-cold Lake Hard Island. Due to the size of the island, there were many caves as well. The region my father entered is rather far from here, Jing Xiu said. We'll enter from here and gradually approach my father. All right, Dongbua Shuang nodded. Suddenly, he frowned as he looked into the distance. Two streaks of light were flying over. Ha! Isn't it your highness Dongbua? Two figures streaked across the sky and descended. They were two-stage, four-world deities with vast auras. One was a plump man dressed in purple robes with two feelers growing out his head. The other was an ordinary human world deity, but he carried a large black ruler on his back and wore a black robe. He had the appearance of a cold, middle-aged man. The two took the initiative to walk over. The purple-robed fatty said, Your Highness Dongbua, I visited you a few days ago. Do you still remember me? Monarch Armadillo Jade? Dongbua Shuang laughed. I didn't think we'd meet on Lake Hard Island. Lake Hard Island is so big. Fu Qiong and I discovered your highness from afar, so we rushed over immediately, the plump monarch Armadillo Jade said. The cold middle-aged man, King Fu Qiong, cupped his hands in greeting. Your highness, King Fu Qiong, I've long heard of your fame, Dongbua Shui Ying said politely. And this is? Monarch Armadillo Jade looked at the masked silver-haired woman. She was emitting the aura of a stage, four-world deity. There were only so many stage, four-world deities in the entire deity world and Dark Abyss. This is a good friend of mine, Empress Nine Swords, Dongbua Shuang said. Jing Xiu glanced at Dongbua Shuang. Greetings, Nine Swords, the two said in unison. They were puzzled as to where this Empress Nine Swords had come from. Your Highness, just the two of you are preparing to enter Lake Hard Island? Armadillo Jade asked. Yes, walking the line between life and death can sharpen one's Dao heart. Dongbua Shuang said. If your Highness doesn't mind, shall the two of us accompany you? Armadillo Jade and King Fu Qiong were clearly prepared for this. Dongbua Shui Ying and Jing Xiu looked at each other. This time, they were going to enter from a relatively unfamiliar cave. The dangers were unpredictable, and the two of them were indeed too weak. Monarch Armadillo Jade and King Fu Qiong were much more experienced than the two of them, especially Monarch Armadillo Jade, whose strength was extremely profound. He was probably on par with eldest senior brother Huiming. He was indeed a good helper. Brother Armadillo Jade is willing to join us. We couldn't be happier. Dongbua Shuang said. However, we are preparing to enter from the cave in front. I wonder if the two of you will be entering together? It's just up ahead. Armadillo Jade and King Fu Qiong stared at the nearby cave in astonishment. King Fu Qiong furrowed his brows and said, "Your Highness Dongbo, there aren't many great existences that enter this cave. It's better for us to enter a cave we are more familiar with. That way, we will have a greater chance of success. But it's harder to find opportunities in a cave we are too familiar with." Dongbo Shui shook his head. "I've decided to enter from here. If the two of you aren't willing, we'll have to split up." This, King Fu Qiong and Monarch Armadillo Jade looked at each other. They soon came to a decision. The two of them had taken the initiative to join because they wanted to form a friendship with Dongbo Shui. After all, it was easy to form a friendship after experiencing a life and death situation together. "Fu Qiong, why don't you accompany this Highness Dongbo? Even if it means risking your life, it's still possible for you to form a good relationship with him. If you can get closer to His Highness Dongbo, when His Highness reaches the strength of a paragon in the future, just a little bit of guidance will be enough for you to benefit immeasurably," Monarch Armadillo Jade advised. The strength of a paragon was at the level of the three ancestors. The three ancestors belonged to the Bloodshed God Palace. There were many others like Monarch Green, Mysterious North Imperial Empress, and others who were free and did not rely on any side. They were all respectfully addressed as paragons. All right, King Fu Qiong immediately came to a decision. Furthermore, I feel that since Highness Dongbo dares to enter, he might have something he can rely on. Amen. Who knows, he might have obtained some sort of secret treasure map, Monarch Armadillo Jade transmitted. The two of them came to a decision. Dongbo Shui and Jing Xiu were both startled, but they were inwardly delighted. With two powerful helpers joining them, their chances of success would increase by a few notches. This time, they had come purely to fulfill their desire to save Monarch Mo Shui. In reality, however, the danger of the Lake Hard Island historical remain was such that their chances of success did not even reach 10%. But no matter how low their chances of success were, they had still come. They had already prepared themselves for failure. "I'll scout ahead. I've cultivated a secret technique that allows my eyes to see through all illusions," Monarch Armadillo Jade said. His eyes had become incomparably deep, and there seemed to be a vortex within them. "All right, Dongbo Shui, Jing Xiu, Monarch Armadillo Jade, and King Fu Qiong were all extremely powerful, and so they were able to quickly coordinate with each other. The four of them carefully entered the cave. The cave was so deep that they couldn't see the end of it. Dongbo Shui and the others continued to carefully advance. Occasionally, they would encounter a fork in the road. Be careful. There seems to be something terrifying lurking in one of the forks," Monarch Armadillo Jade sent mentally. The four of them were all carrying treasures that could isolate them from detection, making it extremely difficult for enemies to discover them. Alas, the dangers of the Lake Hard Island were far greater than they had imagined. No matter how much they wanted to avoid it, it would be very difficult to avoid it completely. "Oh!" Dongbo Shui and the others took a closer look as they passed through the fork in the road. Deep within the fork, there was a statue of ice there, but the eyes beneath the statue were scarlet red. They were staring in the direction of Dongbo Shui and the others. Or perhaps it was more accurate to say that the ice statue was staring in the direction of the fork. Dongbo Shui and the others all felt their hearts clench. Hurry up and leave. They all had a bad feeling about this. Moments after they left, cracks began to appear on the ice statue, and soon, countless chunks of ice shattered, revealing a black-armored, muscular warrior. This warrior had a single horn that reached the heavens, and his face was covered with yellow fur. His eyes were scarlet red, and he was staring in the direction of the fork. The corners of his lips curled upwards slightly. It's been too long. Finally, some outsiders have passed through this place. Ha. I've just awakened, so there's no rush to kill them. I'll take it slow and kill them at the last moment. I hope you can hold on for a bit longer. Whoosh. The black-armored warrior's body touched the icy walls, Then he quickly melted into them and disappeared. Why do I have a bad feeling about this? Monarch Armadillo Jade, who was walking in front, looked around with an ugly expression on his face. Your Highness Dombois, are you really going to keep going? We don't have any experience in this cave, and we don't know what lies ahead. Just follow this path, Dombois Shuang said. The safer path was being watched by Withered Tree, Old Mother, and the rest. Monarch Armadillo Jade was muttering to himself. I've already discovered 3 paths of danger, but this Dombois Shuang and that Empress of the Nine Swords have yet to discover a single one. Could it be that they didn't have anything to rely on in this cave? Besides, this is really troublesome. Because of the secret technique, Monarch Armadillo Jade was extremely proficient in detecting danger. His eyes scanned the surroundings, and the profound mysteries of the laws of heaven and earth appeared in his eyes. Even the slightest movement from afar would cause a slight change in the world, and he would be able to detect it. Be careful, there's a power approaching us at high speed. Let's flee quickly. Monarch Armadillo Jade hurriedly flew forward, at the same time releasing a formless world deity energy that enveloped Dombois, Ying, and the rest. Their flying speed suddenly exploded, reaching a speed of 600,000 kilometers per second. This caused Dombois, Ying, and Jing Xiu to be somewhat speechless. Even their husband and wife could not reach such a high speed. Furthermore, he was bringing 3 people along with him. Monarch Armadillo Jade's reputation was indeed incredible. Boom! Behind them, a figure tore through the ice and charged into the cave. One could vaguely make out a creature clad in black armor, galloping on 4 hooves. However, it soon disappeared, tunneling into the cave walls. It's approaching us at an extremely fast speed. Monarch Armadillo Jade was already moving at an extremely fast speed, while carrying Dombois, Ying, and the rest. However, at this moment, he was somewhat anxious. It doesn't even need to make any turns within the mountain. Everything is moving in a straight line, and it's approaching us at its fastest speed. I'm afraid it'll catch up in a few breaths' time. Prepare for battle. Chapter 543. As Dombois, Ying, and the others were fleeing through the complicated tunnels of the cave, deep within the mountain, not too far away from them, Kakaka. One statue, after another covered in ice, began to shatter. Some were black-armored warriors, some were black-armored flying beasts, and some were black-armored wild beasts. All of them had awoken from their slumber. Looks like Lake Hard Island has entered the frigid ice phase again. The moment we woke up, we were frozen solid. Still, that's fine. If it were the frigid ice phase, the surroundings would be distorted, and it would be even more uncomfortable. A flood dragon-like creature, covered in a layer of black armor, had awoken as well. It had 2 horns on its head, and a hint of joy could be seen in its golden eyes. Oh, these old fellows are still alive and well. Whoosh! The black flood, dragon-like creature touched the walls of the cave, instantly disappearing. Soon, in a rather spacious space, numerous black-armored warriors, flying beasts, and walking beasts all hurried over. Ha ha! Blind old man, long time no see. I'm so happy to see your old face. Hey, isn't it young Master Soaring Feather? You're still as heroic as ever. Ha ha! Big brother, you're still alive? As your little brother, I'm afraid that one day I'll wake up, you won't be here anymore. These black-armored creatures were all incomparably happy, and their expressions were filled with gratification. One of them, a giant serpent covered in black armor, said in a booming voice, "Most of our team is still alive." This has something to do with the fact that very few outsiders enter this region. I hope that outsiders come more often. That way, we'll be able to wake up a bit longer. If too many outsiders come, we'll be in danger of dying. Defeating us would be easy, but killing us, that'll be very difficult. Haven't you heard? There are quite a few regions of Lake Hard Island that have been invaded by true god hegemons. Many old fellows like us were instantly transformed into dust. In front of hegemons, we didn't even have time to flee. True god hegemons wouldn't dare to act rashly in Master's territory. These black-armored creatures were all chatting amongst themselves. Although we're neither dead nor alive, it's all thanks to Master. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to transcend and become mighty figures. Logically speaking, we should have died a long time ago, but Master has allowed us to live until now, a black purple-eyed bird said in a sharp voice. Master has indeed done countless cultivators a great favor. We weren't able to transcend and become true gods. That's because our comprehension abilities are poor. Master has already helped us a lot. However, we've woken up on this island countless times, but it's been a very, very long time since we've sensed the presence of our Master. These black creatures sighed among themselves, even reminiscing about the past. Even so, they could still sense the presence of Dongbua, Shui, Ying, and the other three who were trying to escape. Don't be in a hurry to act. We have to let the invaders feel that this area is relatively safe and spread the news. In the future, more invaders will be willing to come here. We can also wake up frequently. The feeling of sleeping all the time is really uncomfortable, a burly warrior in black armor said. 3-stage, 4-world deities, and one should be a stage 3-world deity who has cultivated an absolute art. They're too weak. There's no need to chase after them too ruthlessly. A small black-armored bird that was currently flying in the surroundings chirped. Let them play around a little more. The truly important areas are all heavily guarded. With their meager strength, they're simply courting death. Within an ice-cold cave, a 4-hooved, black-armored creature pounced over with incomparable savagery. Its usage of the laws of profound mysteries was extremely low. What it relied on was its terrifying strength and speed, as well as the sharpness of its claws. Oomph. The spear in Dongbua Shui Ying's hand pierced through the air. His surroundings seemed to be filled with a myriad of phenomena. Everything appeared beautiful and resplendent. This spear strike caused everyone to feel the beauty and splendor of the myriad existences in the world. One of the 3 great secret skills, life. This move was the result of Dongbua Shui Ying's comprehension of the beauty of the myriad existences in the world. Beauty was just an appearance, but the essence of it was life force, a life force that could move one's heart. This spear strike of Dongbua Shui Ying's contained a kind of spirituality and toughness. It was like a small grass that grew out from the cracks of rock, like a speck of green in a dry desert, like the drifting rain. It was unleashed at will, containing the spirituality of the world, allowing it to have a myriad of transformations. Pung! After the spear pierced out, it instantly vibrated with power. In an instant, it transformed into 320 different forms of force. This move, life, was truly unpredictable. There was no need to deliberately control it, as doing so would cause one to be at a disadvantage. What was required was comprehension. Even if one comprehended it, it would be extremely hard to describe. Dongbua Shui Ying could only comprehend it based on his spirit. The 4-hooved black-armored creature staggered and smashed into a nearby rock wall, causing countless layers of ice to shatter. However, it did not suffer any injuries at all as it continued to madly pounce over. Oh, too weak, too weak. You can't injure me at all. The 4-hooved black-armored creature roared madly as it chased after it. Oomph! King Fu Qiong, wielding the black great ruler, also made his move. This black great ruler seemed slow, but it was actually extremely fast. As it slammed out, the surrounding time and space began to change. The entire world seemed to be changing. The 4-hooved black-armored creature was actually unable to dodge, and its claws could not even touch the great ruler. The black great ruler directly smashed into the head of the black-armored creature. With a dong, the power of the great ruler was transmitted into the creature's body. However, the black-armored creature was sent smashing into the ground of the cavern, leaving behind a deep trench and a large number of cracks on the ice. Even so, it continued to chase after Fu Qiong, completely unharmed. This creature seems to have an average understanding of the laws of profound mysteries. It's only at the stage 3 world deity level. Dongbua Shui Ying transmitted. In fact, in terms of the exquisiteness of its techniques, it's slightly weaker than me. However, its strength, speed, defenses, and even the sharpness of its claws are all inconceivable. Its speed can reach a speed of 600,000 kilometers per second. Its strength is actually slightly higher than mine, and its claws are even sharper and more terrifying than our blood-refined deity weapons. Furthermore, no matter how we attack, we are unable to harm it. Fortunately, its level of cultivation is low. King Fuqiong transmitted. By relying on our level of cultivation, we were able to suppress it. Pung. Suddenly, Monarch Armadillo Jade kicked the black-armored creature in the face, causing it to slam into the stone walls of the cavern. Countless pieces of ice shattered, and the creature tumbled several times before finally landing on the ground. The black-armored creature glared at Dongbua, Shui, Ying, and the other three, then swung its tail. With a low growl, it turned around and slammed into the stone wall to the side. However, it completely disappeared without a trace. It gave up. Dongbua, Shui, Ying, and the others heaved sighs of relief. After being suppressed by us for so long, of course it had to give up. Monarch Armadillo Jade rubbed his chubby face. But we can't rejoice too early. Its level of cultivation is clearly very ordinary, but the four of us were able to completely suppress it. In a one-on-one fight, its defenses are invincible, its speed and strength are terrifying, and its level of cultivation is only slightly lower than His Highness Dombua's. In a one-on-one fight, it won't be easy to deal with. Dongbua, Shui, Ying, and the others nodded in agreement. In a one-on-one fight, even Dongbua, Shui, Ying had no confidence in himself. After all, even if they attacked with all their might, none of their attacks would be able to harm the creature. It would be far too difficult to defeat an enemy with invincible defenses. Your Highness Dongbua, Empress of the Nine Swords, I have to warn you that this black-armored creature isn't the only one in the area. Monarch Armadillo Jade transmitted solemnly. I can sense that there are even more terrifying killing intents in the area. I have to warn you that Fuqiong and I do not have the confidence to deal with them. The two of us are willing to accompany His Highness on this journey, but Your Highness, you must be prepared. If you do not have the confidence to rely on, you should give up as soon as possible. Let's continue forward. Dongbua, Shui, Ying, and Jing Xiu glanced at each other. Then Dongbua, Shui, Ying said, "The road ahead is dangerous, but I will lead the way." Of course, he would lead the way in the direction of the true immortal treasure. Lead the way? Monarch Armadillo Jade and King Fuqiong's hearts stirred. It seemed that His Highness Dongbua really did have some sort of treasure map. However, there were quite a number of such maps. Some were extremely valuable, while others were extremely valuable. I'm just afraid that we'll all die before we reach our destination. Monarch Armadillo Jade muttered helplessly. So what if we die? It's just a clone. Let's hurry. King Fuqiong frowned. Oh, how domineering. Fuqiong, if there's any danger later, you go first. Monarch Armadillo Jade teased as he continued forward. At this moment, there was indeed a large group of black creatures in the surroundings, secretly watching their weak group. They were in no hurry to attack. Chapter 544. Who is leading the way? Why are they heading towards the blazing bloodgate? The black-armored flood dragon's golden eyes were filled with doubt. Do they have some sort of map that leads them to the blazing bloodgate? Umph! A sharp voice rang out from the side. An enormous black-armored bird sneered. You're thinking too much. Just based on the strength of their team? If they knew of the existence of the blazing bloodgate, they would have long since taken a different route. Back when we were stage 4 world deities, we came to Lake Hard Island and knew of the blazing bloodgate. But who would dare to barge into it? If they really were to barge into the blazing bloodgate, the 4 of them would most likely lose their lives. Even if they chose not to barge into it, it would be difficult for them to survive just by passing through. The blazing bloodgate. That place is truly terrifying. Even before the gate opens, it is already dangerous. The moment it opens, it will be a nightmare. These black-armored life forms all sighed. None of them dared to barge into the blazing blood gate, as they knew their limits. What should we do, then? If the 4 of them die there, they will think that this region is too dangerous. It will be a long time before any other cultivators enter this region. At that time, we will have to continue our slumber. Amen. These black-armored life forms all began to feel vexed. They still had a duty to fulfill. If Dongbua, Shui, Ying, and the others were to approach some of the more important regions, they would still act. But before that, they still hoped to let the 4 of them live a little longer. In fact, if their luck was good, they might even obtain some treasures. That way, more and more invaders would enter this region. However, they could not take the initiative to hand over treasures. After all, the moment they violated their duty, they would be annihilated. Chase after them and force them to change directions. Tell them to go in another direction. There's a fork in the road 15 million kilometers ahead. Tell them to change directions there. As long as they change directions, they won't encounter the blazing blood gate. These black-armored life forms immediately made their decision. Dongbua, Shui, Ying, and the others were flying at an extremely fast speed. In a single second, they could cover close to 600,000 miles. In just a short while, they had already covered tens of millions of miles. Hong Long Long, a cruel battle was currently taking place. Shui, Ying, and the other 3 had encountered the most intense battle ever since they entered the cavern. A very terrifying black-armored, tall, and sturdy warrior had come to deal with them. This black-armored warrior's combat power was extremely strong, and it was estimated that he could match up to powerful existences. Dongbua, Shui, Ying, and the other 3 were also resisting with all their might. Pooh! King Fuqiong spat out a mouthful of blood. A huge spell formation appeared around him, and numerous black rulers appeared, attacking the black-armored warrior in a frenzy. The black-armored, burly warrior wielded his great axe. Every single move he made contained terrifying destructive power. Even in a place like the Lake Hard Island where the laws of the world were extremely strong, every strike he made would cause a black hole to appear in the surrounding space. Let's escape. There's a fork here. Let's escape to another path. Monarch Armadillo Jade sent mentally. It's too tiring. We can't hold on for much longer. In addition, this black-armored aberration is only blocking us from the front. He seems to be guarding this path. Let's just follow this path. Jing Qiu sent mentally. Right, let's follow this path. Dongbua, Shui, Ying sent mentally as well. If they change directions, they would be moving in the opposite direction from where the true divinity artifact was hidden. King Fuqiong sent mentally as well. This black-armored aberration is blocking us. Could it be that he's trying to lure us into another path? That path might contain a trap. That's possible. Monarch Armadillo Jade agreed. One side was extremely powerful, while the other side was made up of 4 people working together. Dongbua, Shui, Ying was using one of his 3 secret techniques, the domain-type secret technique known as prison. Jing Qiu and King Fuqiong were using their blood-refined deity weapons to attack as well. Monarch Armadillo Jade was even more powerful, and he would always attack at critical moments, allowing the 4 of them to join forces perfectly. After battling for a while, Dongbua, Shui, Ying, and the others finally broke through the blockade and continued to flee at high speed. The black-armored, gray-tax-wielding warrior did not pursue them. Instead, he watched coldly as they left, then frowned and murmured to himself, "They insist on taking this path no matter what. I'm helping them so that they don't die too quickly. And yet, they're still charging forward of their own volition. Forget it. There's nothing we can do to help them. If they want to die, so be it." Although his voice echoed throughout the area, the surrounding region was completely isolated from all detection, preventing Dongbua, Shui, Ying, and the others from hearing him. This was their duty, and they didn't dare to disobey it. Although they had their own selfish motives, they could only do what was necessary within the scope of their duty. Whoosh! Whoosh! Dongbua, Shui, Ying, and the others were resting within a certain passageway. Monarch Fuqiong and Jing Qiu had suffered relatively heavy injuries. Monarch Armadillo Jade was the most slippery and intelligent of them all, and so he wasn't injured at all. As for Dongbua Shuang, his luminous sun force had given him incredible strength and speed, and he was quite skilled in close combat. As a result, his injuries were relatively light. Jing Xiao and Monarch Fu Qiong weren't particularly skilled in close combat. Their supreme techniques were more suited to formation-based techniques. Fortunately, these black-armored aberrations seemed to be in charge of different regions. If they had joined forces, we probably would have died long ago, Monarch Armadillo Jade muttered. That one just now was too powerful. The four of us only just barely managed to hold him off. Dongbua Shuang was solemn as well. Fortunately, we had Monarch Armadillo Jade. If we had to rely on ourselves, the other three would probably have been killed by him in no time. Monarch Armadillo Jade was indeed more powerful than the three of them. He was able to control the flow of battle and attack at critical moments. His combat prowess was something that even Dongbua Shuang admired wholeheartedly. He truly lived up to his reputation as someone who was almost as powerful as eldest apprentice brother Huiming. It was no exaggeration to say that he was on par with eldest apprentice brother Huiming. I've only lived for a few years in vain. Monarch Armadillo Jade rubbed his chin, feeling quite pleased with himself. Let's go. Let's keep advancing, Monarch Fu Qiong said. If we stay here for too long, we might run into danger. Let's keep going. Dongbua Shuang nodded as well. The four of them advanced stealthily. The rest of the journey was much safer. Occasionally, they would be attacked by black-armored aberrations, but their strength was still within the range of what they could endure. In the end, there were still very few aberrations with the power of a major power. Caw, caw, caw. A black-armored bird cawed, then instantly split into over 1,000 bodies that simultaneously attacked Dongbua Shuang's group of four. The four of them continued to flee while simultaneously defending against the attacks. By working together, they were able to hold on. Be careful up ahead. Monarch Armadillo Jade suddenly sent. Dongbua Shuang was also paying close attention to what was ahead of them. Ahead of them was an empty mountain, and within the mountain, there was a blood-red disk. With Dongbua Shuang's group's vision, they could still see it clearly despite their vision being obstructed. It was a massive disk that was at least 1,000,000 kilometers in circumference. The disk was red in color, and it was covered with carvings of swords and sabers. Does it look like a door? Dongbua Shuang was puzzled. This massive disk looked like a circular door that had been placed on the ground. There was a vertical mark in the center of the disk that looked like a door that could be pushed open. A door that's placed flat on the ground? Dongbua Shuang stared at the carvings of swords and sabers, as well as the blood-red patterns on the disk. He could sense a boundless killing intent and a bloody aura emanating from it. All of them, including Monarch Armadillo Jade, were experts. Naturally, they could sense this formless threat. This was far more terrifying than the black-armored aberrations they had encountered earlier. Wah! Dongbua Shuang and the others were extremely fast, and they soon arrived at the mountain. The black-armored bird that had been chasing after them had also stopped. It cawed as it watched from afar, and was no longer in a rush to act. Everyone, be careful. Be careful of those ice sculptures, Monarch Armadillo Jade transmitted. Dongbua Shuang also noticed that there were 2 rows of ice sculptures on both sides of the mountain. There were many of them, and there were at least 100 of them. They can't all be monsters, right? Jing Xiao transmitted to Dongbua Shuang. Within the Lake Heart Island historical remains, there are many monsters that were transformed from ice sculptures. Don't scare yourself. Even though there are many monsters that were transformed from ice sculptures, it doesn't mean that every single one of them is a monster. Dongbua Shuang felt his heart turning numb. Any one of those black-armored aberrations was hard to deal with, and there were 2 rows of ice sculptures neatly arranged in front of them. If all of them were monsters, how could the 4 of them defend against them? I can sense a bloody aura coming from that disc, as well as an incomparably terrifying suppression. It's even more frightening than the 3 ancestors of your bloodshed god palace. Monarch Armadillo Jade's eyes were deep as he observed everything. He transmitted, "Everyone be careful. Don't alarm anything. Be gentle and avoid that disc. We'll quickly pass through this mountain. Don't touch anything." Amen. Dong was Shuang, Jing Xiao, and King Fu Qiong all agreed. They could all feel the unseen threat from that disc. "Let's go," Monarch Armadillo Jade ordered. The four of them immediately turned into streams of light and flew past the disc. They did not even dare to touch the ground. But just as they were about to fly, the ice on the surface of the 2 rows of neatly arranged ice sculptures began to crack, revealing pairs of eyes that had already opened. They were all looking at Shui, Ying, and the other 3, who were about to fly through the ice. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.